This is Jocko Podcast number 68 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
So, we've been doing some Facebook Lives lately. Facebook Live, and they've been pretty cool. Interacting, getting a lot of questions, but here's the deal. On the Facebook Live, I think the first one I did, I got 3,000 comments or questions in 1 hour, and it's something like 40 or 50 questions a minute, which is one a second, which means you can't answer all of them. And I started looking at some of the questions, and there were some really good questions on there. And there was also a lot of common questions that pop up that maybe I don't address or haven't addressed. And I said, you know what? If a lot of people are asking the same question, there must be a need to know, or people are interested in what the answer is. So I kind of threw together some of those questions from Facebook Live primarily. There's a couple other ones that I got from Twitter and or Facebook Message. Is that what it's called? Facebook Messenger? Yeah. Like when somebody direct messages.
Right.
And you know, with that, if there's people that are sending me messages and stuff through social media and even through email, I can't answer all of them right now. I just can't, and I apologize, and I appreciate what you're sending me, but I can't always get to them all. There's a lot of them coming in. It's not, I don't have enough time to answer them all. I look at them, and you know, I'll try and throw back an answer real quick sometimes, but a lot of times I just don't have time to answer them all. Sometimes, yeah, I read them all. I do read them all, but you know, when I'm looking at a limited amount of time and I have a ton of Facebook questions coming in, it can be hard. Hey, if you do want an answer, let me give you something that is helpful. If you want an answer, ask like a really simple question, yes or no, or should I do this or that? You know, should I go to college or join the military based on the situation I'm in right now, that I don't have any money and I'd have to borrow money to go to college? What do you think I should do? So, there's a couple options there for me to answer. You know what I mean? It's going to be pretty straightforward. On that one, I'm going to say, join the military. You want to join the military anyways? Go get after it. Boom, done. So, but if you give these long questions that then you're looking for an open-ended kind of answer, it's hard for me to get around to them. Now, those are also questions that I normally might pull into the podcast because they do require more of a response. So if that's what you're looking for, yes, that's a good way to send it on Facebook or on Twitter. Hey, if it's an open-ended answer that I'm going to have to think about or have to discuss with you, that's cool. But if you just need an answer about something, just ask a direct question. I'll get around to it. But during the Facebook Live, there was a ton of questions, and it was really cool. I'd never done Facebook Live before, and got a lot of good questions. So, with that, let's go to this some Q&A from the Facebooky boy.
Yeah. And Twitter, I'm imagining.
And Twitter.
Sure.
Yeah. These primarily came from Facebook Live.
Oh, dang. Okay.
I went through every comment.
Dang.
Yeah. So it took some time.
Yeah.
But especially since my computer started lagging, and I know I talk about being mad at computers or at printers and copy machines, but when my computer's lagging, that also can get me angry.
Yeah, the computer's pushing it, huh? Yeah. Pushing its luck. Yeah.
I just want the thing to work quickly.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, though. That's the whole thing with computers. It's like, of course you want it to work more quickly. Like if you get a cheap computer, chances
I don't
are
have a cheap
the
computer.
main thing. Oh yeah, so you have expectations. Yeah, makes sense.
I want the thing to work quickly.
Yeah, I
almost got a T1 line. You know what that is, internet wise?
I thought that was like old school.
No, it's the T1 line is when you're
getting it,
and they guarantee 99.9%. You know, up and going and never break, never have any issues. Yeah. I almost got a T1 line from my house.
Get a T1 line. I think
I didn't do it.
Well, hey, that's up to you, obviously. And with that, I think let's go to the question. The first question.
Let's go to questions.
Okay, Jocko.
First question.
Do you work out every day?
Okay, yeah, this is a question that a bunch of people were asking me. And I thought it was pretty evident that I do work out every day, which I do. Mm-hmm. And then I also thought that there was a little misleading statement in the Success Magazine article. Yeah. And again, I don't know what I said on some of these questions or how I answered it at the time or what I explained or how well I explained it, but there was a misleading statement that on this particular day, I had already lifted in the morning at 04:30, and now I was lifting again at 9 or whatever time it was, and then I was going to lift again. It was like made it seem like I was lifting just over and over again throughout the day, which generally I don't do. Generally, when I wake up in the morning, I lift. And by lift, I mean workout. And by workout, that might mean lift. It might mean do calisthenics. It might mean, sometimes it just means stretching, right? But rarely do I only stretch. But like yesterday, I was feeling a little under the weather for 2 days. Wasn't full on sick. Some of my family members got sick. They were really sick. And when it hit me, it didn't hit me as hard. Because I, fought against the illness. Sure. So I was a little bit sick, but one day I was like, okay, I'm just going to go in and stretch. The next day, it was like leg day, I was going to go do squats. And I did squats, but if anybody was to come and witness that workout, I would have to be ashamed of myself because all I did was basically go in there, go through the motion, put a little weight on the bar, move.
That's how.
But yes, I do. I work out so even when I'm sick, I'm going to work out, right? I'm going to work out. And I'm going to do something because I think it's healthy to do something. Now, another question that people say is like, do you lift and do jiu-jitsu in the same day? Yes, absolutely. All the time. Almost daily. Another branch question to that one is, do you lift before jiu-jitsu or after jiu-jitsu? I like to lift before jiu-jitsu. I want to go into jiu-jitsu a little bit tired. As a matter of fact, some of the young guns at the gym, they'll say, oh, like I'll go in to roll with them at night, and the young guns will say, oh, I already worked out. I already worked out today. I'm not all fresh. And I always say, well, you think I'm fresh? What do you think I've been doing all day? Son. So yeah, I like to work out before I do jiu-jitsu, and I like to surf if there's good waves or even marginal waves, get a little surf session in. And if I can I don't like to use the word cardio, but I'll use it. It's nice to go for a little run, a little jog. So that's sort of like my grand slam of a day.
Oh, the 3?
4.
4, yeah.
4.
Oh, sure.
If I work out, lift, calisthenics or whatever, then do some kind of again, I'll use the word cardio, go for a run, go for a jog, go for a swim, surf. That's awesome. And then you throw the jiu-jitsu on top of it. That's a grand slam for me. I love those days. And those are the days you go to sleep at night, Those are the days you go to bed and you feel tired.
Yeah.
That's one of the things in the book that's coming out, the field manual, Discipline Equals Freedom field manual. I talk about sleep. And one of the things I talk about is, people are saying, how do you fall asleep at night? Because a lot of people, everyone has trouble getting up in the morning. But then when you start saying, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed earlier, people have trouble falling asleep too.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people, even me. So what do you do to fall asleep earlier? I got a couple steps in the field manual. One of the steps in the field manual is be more tired.
Yeah.
How do you be more tired? You work out harder during the day. You drain yourself physically and mentally during the day. That way when you go to bed at night, you will fall asleep.
Yeah.
And I got the whole thing laid out in there, but that's one of them. One other note. So that's it. Do I work out every day? Yes. Do something every day. Do something.
Yeah.
Do something. Even if all you have is 10 minutes, do 100 burpees. Just do 100 burpees. Just at a minimum, make that happen. But also, if you're sick, do what you can. Get a little sweat going. If you're injured, do what you can. If you're sick, caveat, that doesn't mean go train jiu-jitsu. Because if you're sick, you make everybody else sick at jiu-jitsu. And that's not cool. So if you're that kind of sick, don't do it.
Yeah.
But other than that, yes, I work out every day. I try and train every day. I would stay active.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
It's going to be hard, though, to try to mask your routine onto someone else. Like you can't just go into, let's say I'm a guy, I work out once a day, and it's like just let's say it's a strenuous workout, not super strenuous, not like hard. I can't just be like, hey, Jocko works out 4 times a day on his good day, so let me start doing that. Like, you can not only get hurt, but it won't work for you.
Yeah, and that's another misconception, is that every single day that I work out, I'm going level 29 self-destruction.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It doesn't... You can't do it. You just can't do it. I mean, it's not like you can't do it because it'll hurt you. You just can't do it.
Right.
You know, you do squats heavy one day, or you go through 3 or 4 days of going really hard. The 5th, 6th day, one of those days, you're going to be like, okay, I need to back off today, whatever day it is. So you do some kind of workout. I'll still get it on, but I'm not going to go level 29, self-destruction. When I was going to boot camp, there was they would say there was a room attached to the main hall, the main barracks where everyone was, this open bay barracks. And if you got in trouble for something, they'd send you to this side room and they'd say, go in there and self-destruct, which meant and they had a list of exercises, and it was, jumping jacks, push-ups, sit up, just a bunch of random calisthenics.
What, when they'd send you and they'd give you that?
No, it was already I think it was posted.
Yeah.
And then you went in there and you did 1 of every exercise, then 2 of every exercise, then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6. And one of my buddies who ended up being a SEAL, who's a great dude, who I went to boot camp with, he is the only guy I went to Navy boot camp with, and we both ended up in the SEAL teams. But the chief that was running it was like, whatever, his seaman apprentice. He goes, get in there and self-destruct. And this guy was a wrestler, a college wrestler, legit college wrestler, great dude. And he went in there, and normally people are done by whatever, 5 or 6 repetitions, or maybe 8 repetitions. He was in there for like an hour, and he came out just dripping with sweat.
Yeah.
It was, I knew he was in there getting after it for sure.
Yeah, the wrestler version of self-destruct is different.
Yeah, it's different than some guy from wherever that's
a non-wrestler.
A non-wrestler. Yes,
that's so true.
Put quite simply, yes.
Dang, so they just kind of leave it to you.
Yeah.
To self-destruct.
Yeah.
Dang, so
and that's right. That's what it was. He was the master at arms in my boot camp, which I don't even remember.
Who, the wrestler guy?
The wrestler guy. He was the master at arms. We were both from New England too. And so we had driven the flown down there to Florida on the same plane. And of course, we were both kind of, what are you going in the Navy for? I want to be a SEAL. What are you going for? I want to be a SEAL too. So we kind of had a little bit of, okay, well, at least this guy's kind of getting after it in some way. Yeah. And honestly, he was a college wrestler. I was probably like a little punk to him, because he's thinking, what is this? I was just a high school kid, non-wrestler going, I want to be a Navy SEAL. And so anyways, he was the master at arms. That's what he was like, master at arms, get in that room and self-destruct. So that was a good time. So no, I do not self-destruct on a daily basis, but I do get it on every day, and definitely push myself on a regular basis.
Yeah. And that's obviously going to depend on what you, like, what is the results? Because you're not at a point where you're like, hey, I need to really get in shape. I need to lose 25 pounds or something.
I'm not saying that. You know what is interesting, though, is the days where I'm getting the Grand Slam going, when I get to Jiu Jitsu, I feel good.
Yeah.
I train way better when I'm in the zone, when I've been working out, when I've had a good workout, I've surfed. I show up to Jiu Jitsu, I feel great. I'll feel tired, but I feel better.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like your second round of rolling or
if
something. If for
whatever reason I don't get a workout in the morning, or I only get a really short workout in the morning, and then I go train Jiu Jitsu, I never feel optimal.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I have a personal superstition / curse in my own head that if I don't work out in the morning, I am gonna get injured.
No
So that forces me to work out even when I don't want to.
Yeah.
Because I say, well, I'm gonna train tonight. I don't want to get injured. Because there's been, I think, 2 injuries that I've gotten from jiu-jitsu. Both of them happened when I didn't work out in the morning. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
One of them, I didn't work out in the morning, and I showed up and went to train, and one of them hurt my ankle really bad, like a high ankle sprain, and that was bad. But I didn't work out in the morning.
That must have been it.
And I think apparently
had to.
And I think the other one was a knee injury. No, it wasn't a knee injury. No, I think it was a shoulder injury. Anyways, whatever it was, also that day didn't work out in the morning for some pathetic reason. Didn't work out. So for me, workout. It's mental prep. It's physical prep. Get you ready for the evening. The jiu-jitsu.
I think that's called availability bias. When you you draw that conclusion, in your specific case, it's
right.
like, it stands out in your mind on this emotional level. So it's like, you accept it.
It really happened though. So never mind your cognitive biases.
No.
I'm telling you what happened.
I understand what happened, but you have to consider all the times in your whole jiu-jitsu career that you didn't work out.
That's what I'm saying.
That was the only two.
It's such a small number.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a small number. I bet you there's 10 times in the past 10 years that I didn't work out in the morning and I trained jiu-jitsu that night.
Yeah, 2 out of 10. That's bad odds.
Yeah.
You can't conclude that.
And that's probably pretty generous. It might be like 5 because sometimes I'm on the road and then I didn't work out, but I didn't train jiu-jitsu. But for me to be here in my hometown with access to my garage gym and the jiu-jitsu, for me to just say, I'm just not going to work out today. I don't say that.
Right. It's not very common.
No.
Yeah. I would say if it was a muscle strain or tear or something like this, I would say that would maybe make it a little different because you're stiffer,
Yeah.
But then again, ankle too. If you're super warm, you can stretch your ankles and shoulders a lot. So I don't know. Hey, maybe you might be right. I could have it completely wrong.
Certainly sounds like I'm right.
But statistically,
I think I win statistically too.
No, statistically, let's say it's inconclusive.
Okay, so 20% is not conclusive to you? Okay.
No, it's not.
Well, you know what I'll do? I'll keep working out.
Given the
every
quantity,
day.
you'd have to do it over time. And then if there's a discernible 20%, then you could start to conclude, okay,
It's
I'm
10
20%.
years I'm talking about. That's
20%
overtime.
more likely.
Okay, well, that's fair. We can make that a statement right now.
Oh, yeah, as of right
more
now,
likely.
statistically,
Yes.
you're 20% more likely to get hurt if you don't
Which is pretty big.
work out.
Yes.
Yeah, those aren't good odds at all.
I know.
I'm working out every day now.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I used to do that. But I would go hard workout, then go jiu-jitsu. But same thing, though.
Yeah.
I think it's mental. Unless you're doing it 7 days a week for, a few weeks, then you can start to feel like, hey, or your nutrition is bad, or I don't know, something. It's to go.
But you feel better.
Roll.
You feel better.
Sometimes, not all the time, though. Sometimes I'll feel better if I don't work out. But so I wouldn't say that necessarily in my case, but I think it is more mental. In jiu-jitsu, I think it's natural to put pressure on yourself to perform in jiu-jitsu training, because I think it's part of it. When I go in, I'm going to roll against you. I'm going to try to do good against you. I'm not going to, every single time, I'm not going to go in and be like, let's just see what I learned today. Let me work on my weaknesses and try to learn. And
you're going to try and win.
I'm try to win. And there's that element, I think, most of the time for most people.
Right.
So mentally, we'll play these games or we'll kind of psych ourselves out like, shit, I'm not at my best because I'm kind of tired from working out. So I won't be able to perform. Now the pressure's on. Maybe I'm going to roll with a guy who's my level. Maybe my instructor's going to see me roll with him. I'm not going to do as good as I normally do. He'll think I'm not as good as I really am. It's like
so you're saying there's mental pressure when you're at the jiu-jitsu.
That's why people will say, I worked out today. I don't want you to judge my performance
it's an excuse.
necessarily.
It's a pre-roll excuse.
In a way, yes.
Yeah, I don't give that excuse.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Because it would be a lie, too.
Yeah.
Because I would actually go and say,
in
hey, I didn't work out today, therefore my game is going to be weak. Right. That's what I would have to say, but I wouldn't say that
That's not
either.
the case for you most of the time. Yeah, and it's pretty rare, I think. I mean, in my experience, it's pretty rare that I'll work out, even a hard workout, in the morning and then go roll at night and then it affects me. I feel tired. It's pretty rare.
No. Now, I will get so sore sometimes, if you do squats or you do a hardcore kettlebell workout, I'll be sore
Yeah.
And it takes a few minutes to get that soreness out of the body once you're on the mats.
Right.
And sometimes somebody will be doing some movement that's grinding on the quads, and it hurts. And it makes you ziggy a little bit.
Sure.
So I was jumping. I was parachuting. I had like hardly. This is like when I was in the SEAL teams.
Oh, okay. Not like this morning.
I was parachuting, and I didn't have that many jumps. Right. I wasn't an experienced free fall parachutist at this time.
Sure.
And the guy we were going jumping with was an extremely experienced, highly experienced, thousands and thousands of parachute jumps. And he took a crew of us, and we were all pretty much new jumpers. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. And so we go up, and there's a ceiling, meaning that the clouds are low, and so we can't get to full altitude. And so he goes, "Hey guys, we can't get up to altitude. We're in the aircraft." This is almost, this is one of those cheesy, like a movie type scene where we're in the aircraft and he's kind of yelling like what's going on to us.
Yeah, like I'm Point
We're
Break.
all new guys, and this guy was a Master Chief, and he's like, "Hey guys, we can't get up to altitude. We're gonna just do a hop and pop at $3,000 or something like that." Meaning we're just gonna go at a very low altitude, just gonna jump out and pop our parachutes. And I'm sitting there. I've never even done a hop and pop before. I barely knew how to get stable coming out of an aircraft. The way we used to go through free fall school, it was like a rapid evolution where if you did correct on one jump, they moved to the next one. And I did my jumps correctly, so I didn't have a lot of jumps. So then we get this guy saying, and I only jumped at 13,000 feet before this. So you have all kinds of time if you mess up on your exit, which if you don't know, when you jump out of an aircraft, when you're inexperienced, you can get spun around. As a matter of fact, Andy Stumpf talked about how he started spinning out of control, and it happens. Well, when you're at 13,000 feet, you start spinning. It's okay. You find your body position. You get stable. We called it flat, dumb, and happy, meaning you're falling flat and everything is stable and good, and then you can pull your parachute, and it's fine. Well, at 3,000 feet, you don't have time to do any of that. So when you come out, you basically have to come out and immediately adapt to the airstream of the aircraft, and you have to get yourself stable, and then you need to pull really quickly. And so I'm kind of thinking to myself, I have no idea how to do this. And I've known that I've messed up a bunch of exits, and I knew that I'd gotten unstable a bunch of times jumping out, and I'd just find my time and get stable and it'd be cool. So anyways, this Master Chief's like, "Hey guys, we can't get to altitude. We're just going to do a hop and pop at 3,000 feet. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's a limited chance that I'm going to make this exit properly. And I think I said something along the lines of like, hey, Master Chief, I've never done a hop and pop before, because we're yelling in an aircraft, you can't hear anything. I'm like, hey, I've never done a hop and pop before. Look, what's any pointers? And it was me and all my buddies. None of us had done it before. And he goes, yeah, it's no big deal. You just go out, just count to 3 and pull. And I go, roger that. And then he goes, just don't ziggy the exit. That's what he says. Just don't ziggy the exit, meaning don't have a bad exit. Yeah. Which, like at this point, like I said, I was probably batting 50% bad exits because I just didn't know what I was doing. So, of course, what did I do? Okay, fine. I'll just jump. If I ziggy the exit and die, cool. So be it. But at least I tried to hit it. So don't ziggy the exit.
So what happened?
Oh, so I went out. I didn't ziggy the exit. Actually, that's when the pressure's on. You rise. Rise. You hope to rise. I always feel better. It's like surfing without a leash. You know what a leash is, right? Do you know? You're from Hawaii. You know what a leash is?
Yes, I know what a leash. Thank you.
Some people wear a leash. Some people don't. When I wear a leash, which I don't like to, you feel you can make mistakes, and there's no price to be paid because all you do is you fall and your board's right there with you. When you don't have a rope on or a leash on, when you fall, your board is gone. You have to swim for it. It's a pain. Yeah. It can hit people. It's hazardous. It's dangerous. All these things. Yeah. When I surf with a leash on, I surf like crap. When I surf with no rope, which I prefer, I surf better because if you ziggy that drop in, your board's gone. You're gonna hurt somebody. It's a nightmare. Yeah. So
makes sense.
And I'll tell you, my son the other day, there was big waves, and not big waves from a Hawaiian standpoint, but San Diego big waves, and he's just on a longboard, no rope, just dropping in on bombs. And I was pretty impressed. Yeah. And actually, especially because I have a little bit of a tweaked shoulder right now, so I was wearing a leash because I can't quite grip my board as much as I need to.
Oh, right. When it goes
And
down.
so I'm sitting out there wearing a leash, and he's out there no rope getting after it. I was like, okay, that's cool. Impressive.
Yeah,
Impressive,
not
young
everyone's
man.
like that, though.
Not everyone's, that they rise to the pressure?
Yeah, like even in your case, it seems like you prefer the pressure.
I prefer the pressure. I prefer the pressure. It feels better. Like when you drop in on a wave and there's no penalty for making a mistake, there's just less reward, right? You want more reward.
Yeah, I dig it.
It's like rolling with people that you're better than. You don't want to roll with people that you're just way better than. There's no reward to it. You want to feel a challenge.
Right.
Yeah. At least I do.
Yeah, and that makes sense, but I guess it's like the standard is different with you. Because, like, let's face it, I was a sponger back in the day.
For those of you that don't know, back in the day, Echo was riding a boogie board.
Boogie board.
Big
Body,
time.
we call it bodyboarding.
Yeah.
Anyway, same thing. Leash, no leash. But if you're shredding big waves, right, you want that leash. Because some people, I was one of those people where if you don't have a leash, it's like, okay, I'm thinking about that a little bit now. It's on my mind. Rather than you don't have to think about that. I can just think about, this wave.
Shredding.
I can just think about shredding. Yeah. So you have that situation. But yours is a perfect analogy with with jiu-jitsu guys. Like, let's say, you're a black belt and, whatever. You get matched up with a white belt. Boom, timer goes off. And then let's say it's a white belt that you've rolled with before. So you not only do you expect to be better than him,
you actually
with
know
good
it,
reason.
Actually,
you know it, yeah, and there's no payoff. So yeah, your body is straight up has essentially no motivation, no incentive to quote unquote perform. Same thing.
Yeah.
But I think with these types of things like surf, it's just a different standard though. Some people, in your case, apparently, you feel that in surfing with the leash. But I think some people that at the same time, it's like wearing a mouthpiece too.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh yeah, but
it's not smart.
What? Not wearing a mouthpiece?
Sparring without a mouthpiece.
But
no, I mean, not jiu-jitsu, but if you start stand-up, yeah, it's like boxing or kickboxing without a mouthpiece in, that's not smart.
Yeah.
Which I've done a ton of, stupidly.
Yeah, but think of that mindset there where it's like, yeah, I won't wear a mouthpiece. That way, when someone hits me, the cost is greater, So it'll add some pressure to me, kind of thing.
Dental damage.
Safety. Yeah,
dental damage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as opposed to
the face.
losing your boogie board to
the
shore where you got to swim a little bit more. But yeah, man, same deal.
Check. All right.
Next question. Boxing or jiu-jitsu for a 7-year-old boy?
Jiu-jitsu all day on that one. It's a couple reasons. It's fun. It's active, so you can actually fight the other person, and it's real fighting, and it's what they're used to. And so many often when parents come in and they bring their kid in for the first time, or now it's week 2, and the parents are saying, oh, they just love it so much. And I said, yeah, they're doing what they want to do, what they instinctually want to do. Yeah. Go look at dogs, go look at cats, go look at any animal out there in the animal kingdom. You know what they do? They grapple with each other.
Yep.
And they actually do submissions, right? They if you watch like a wolf pack, when that dominating wolf gets the throat of the weaker wolf, the submissive wolf, he doesn't rip his throat out. The guy taps out, game over.
Yep.
Now he knows that he's the alpha now, but it's the same thing. So, you watch little lions or tigers, they wrestle with each other.
Yep.
They don't kill each other. They tap out. They get submissive. They say, oh, yeah, you won. So it's very natural and very instinctive to do. So, yeah, jiu-jitsu all day long. Now, it's important to develop your striking. And you can do that, training boxing 1-2 times a week, just get in there, learn how to throw it. I mean, it's really pretty sad when you meet a grown man that doesn't know how to throw a punch, right? That's just not good. You should know how to throw a punch, because if you get in a fight, the fight's going to start standing. And if all you know how to do is try and double leg someone, you don't always want to do that. In fact, you prefer to knock the person out in many cases. So learn how to throw strikes. But I will say, as far as 7-year-olds getting in there and sparring, too young, all kinds of brain development still going on. Head trauma is head trauma. You're not going to get better at it as you get older. I shouldn't say that. You're not going to get better at it by taking more punches. The more you get punched in the head, the worse you're going to be at it. Period. End of story. I shouldn't say period, end of story. When you turn 18 or when you turn 17 and you're going to start sparring, you're going to get better at it for a little bit because you're going to get used to it. You're going to understand how the reaction, you're going to know how to deal with the little white flash that hits you. You're going to become comfortable in that uncomfortable scenario. But that uptick of increased improvement is very short. And very quickly you reach the other side of that, which is every time you get punched in the head, you're taking your brain resilience backwards. So do boxing, learn it, throw punches, hit pads, make sure you know how to throw a punch. And you take a kid that's 10 years old that knows how to throw a 1-2-3 combo and he gets in a street fight, he knows jiu-jitsu and boxing, he's not even going to get to the jiu-jitsu part because he throws a 1-2-3 combo and he's knocking out just about every other kid, or at least he's putting them down. Or at least he's shown that kid is going to go, wait, this person knows how to fight and I don't. Because it is hard to knock people out. I don't care, even a skilled boxer will have a hard time knocking out a random person in the street because it's hard to knock someone out. Harder. So, yes, jiu-jitsu all day long for the 7-year-old, and do a little bit of striking to get them familiar with it.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is way funner too, and of course that it sounds like a matter of opinion, but just how you said, like grappling and stuff is natural. Like even if you get two brothers who don't take jiu-jitsu at all, no wrestling, no nothing, and you say, hey, go play outside. They're going to start, and no ball, no nothing. They're going to mess around, and chances are they're going to start, one guy's going to be pinning the other guy on the ground, pinning his hands or whatever. And that's kind of part of it. So jiu-jitsu, it's like, basically jiu-jitsu is just that. It's literally just that, except for there's actual skills in there so they can get good at that thing that they were doing anyway.
And that's one of the reasons that boxing or striking, because I should say boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever, there's a reason why it's a little bit boring if you're not sparring, because now you're not sparring. You're hitting pads. You're hitting. It's just not as fun. It is cool, and it's good. And I'll tell you what, I've been to Thailand, and it's awesome seeing the young kids that are training like that all the time. You drive down the streets in Thailand, just like in America, you'd see guys shooting hoops, or you see kids shooting hoops, you see kids playing catch the baseball. The kids there are doing Muay Thai. That's what they're doing. And it's badass.
That is badass, but that's a traditional thing. When that's all around you, that's what we do. That's what us kids, just like soccer, like certain places you're going to see more people playing soccer. Then you're not going to see them playing basketball.
Well, yeah, of course it's a traditional thing. But I'm saying, even at that young age, they do find it entertaining. And there also are ways to spar if you can do it correctly. That is like light sparring. It's almost like you're playing tag. I call it playing tag. Playing tag, you can kind of play tag with a person, and you are improving your skills, but you're not getting head brain trauma.
And that's actually a good point. The whole playing tag, because you do, even if you're not trained in boxing, you'll do that anyway. With your brothers, like slap boxing.
Like slap boxing.
We used to go before I actually took jiu-jitsu, when we just watch UFC or the Hoist Gracie videos. We'd play slap MMA, basically. So it's slap boxing. You can kick him in the legs or whatever, and even if you get him on the ground, your ground and pound is just slapping him in the face. Like, we do that, and that's fun even if you don't know jiu-jitsu or boxing or anything. So that's right. I think that you're right about that in that case, where
you just have to be careful of kids getting hit, kids and adults getting hit repeatedly in the head with legit strikes. It's just not good for you, period.
Yeah, and that's kind of a slippery slope too, when you're like, 7-year-old boy, I want to get him into boxing. So obviously there's a spectrum there. It's on one side you're like, okay, just get him learn how to throw 1-2, learn this.
Yeah, you know what else is important to say too? 'Cause, I just thought of this is, you said, did you say there's a spectrum? Yeah. So there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of natural ability to take punches too, right? So some people can get punched their whole lives and they're fine in the head. And you look at some pro boxers that come out of their boxing career after having wars, and they're cognitively fine. And there's other guys that go through their careers and they're in rough shape when they get done. They have pugilistic brain syndrome. I forget the actual name of it, but they have, the boxer's brain damage. And so you don't know who's going to have that. You don't know if your kid's going to have that or not. So if the only way to find out is to test them by giving it to them, that's not a good way to find out. It's not worth it, even if they wanted to be a pro boxer.
Yeah.
It's not a good way to find out. Because you're going to find out when they're doing their first amateur bout and if they get knocked out or, they get bad headaches, it's a bad situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why I think jiu-jitsu and wrestling is going to get even more popular, because as you look at the UFC evolve, the people are now saying, all kinds of UFC fighters are saying, hey, I'm not sparring. I'm barely sparring anymore. I don't spar before my fight, or I spar a very limited amount. And so as people are saying that, well, what are you going to do if you're not sparring? Well, you're hitting pads. That's cool. But how are you going to train? You're going to do jiu-jitsu. You're going to do wrestling. You're going to do grappling. That's where you're going to win the fight. So I think that as the UFC gets more and more popular, and as more information comes out about traumatic brain injuries that come from repetitive hits to the head, I think that the popularity of boxing and striking training is going to go down, and that will force or cause the popularity of wrestling and jiu-jitsu to go up.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. It's true. But these what I said about the spectrum, I mean, everything's really a spectrum, but the approach to it, right? So let's talk about boxing. 7-year-old boy boxing. There's a spectrum. One side of the spectrum is, let's have them learn the 1-2, have them learn a jab, hook, cross, all this. And that's cool. Hit some mitts. We'll do a workout, do some jump rope, and do this. On the other side, the extreme side, this kid, discipline, 7 days a week. He's going to be the next, Roy Jones Jr. or something like that. Yeah. And we're going to start him right now kind of thing. So in that case, most of the time I would predict is that on the extreme case, the boy's not going to take to it as naturally. Unless it is part of the tradition or something like that. But jiu-jitsu, like I said, it's just so, unless you're being that guy, that parent, the one who's like, you're going no matter what. But I think so. I think you're right. I think naturally they're going to take to something like jiu-jitsu. It's just way more fun. And even just the traditional atmosphere of jiu-jitsu is more fun. You just, especially in the kids, bro, those kids have so much fun in there.
They don't barely know that they're doing something instructional in a lot of cases. They're just, hey, hold this person here with your knees on each side. Well, that's the mount. Yeah. And the kid on the bottom is learning the mount escape. They don't even know it, but they're learning it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
Good stuff.
My daughter doesn't even want to leave the gym now.
That's so legit.
You can just run around and think about it too. You're in a padded room.
Here's a padded room. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, man, it's the best. Next question. Jocko, how do you read books to prepare for podcasts? How do you read a book to extract maximum benefit? Any advice on keeping yourself focused and being patient while reading books?
So this was a series of reoccurring questions that were about kind of how I read. Yeah. And I grabbed 3 of them that were in there. So how do I prepare for the podcast? It's actually a pretty in-depth situation. So first thing I do is I read the book. As I'm reading the book, I highlight anything that I find to be interesting or informative to me, or reinforce an idea that I know, or bring a new idea to bear. So as I'm going through, I'm just highlighting everything. And when I get done with and now, just to say, when we're talking max benefit, when I was in college and I would do that, I would, once I got done with highlighting the areas that I found informative or important, then I would make flashcards of the highlighted areas. Mm-hmm. So I was like double locking the information. Because as soon as I make a flashcard, I've already got it 50% in my memory. Well, I read it, I highlighted it. It was like 25%. Mm-hmm. Make a flashcard, that's another 45 or 50%. And so boom, now I got to do is study the flashcard for that last 25% to lock in the knowledge. Where when I go in to take the test, I know 100%. I know I'm going to know every answer on the question.
When you recall like test. A thing, you actually recall what the flashcard looked like.
Yes.
You know how you wrote the A on that one, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I would do. This is kind of a sidetrack when I was in college. Highlight and then make flashcards of what I highlighted. Now, for the podcast, what I do is once I read it and highlight it, now I go back through and I look at the highlights, and now I start being selective of what is going to be in the podcast. And I actually circle the actual words I'm going to read with a red pen that I'm holding right here. And that's what I do. I circle, and then I have little notes that say next, like when I circle a section, and then I'll either have an arrow that goes to another point, or I'll have a little note that says go to page 49, and then there'll be a tab, one of those little yellow sticky tabs on page 49. Boom, there it is. I can flip right there real quick, so we don't have to edit. We don't have to. There's a flow. I can keep rolling, and then on top of those, when I read something and I want to say something about it, I have little sticky notes that I put in there. Either sticky notes, I have the sticky tape stuff, which is pretty legit. And I roll that out. I stick it on there and I say, hey, mention, experience I had here, or what happened when I was doing this. And so I kind of make those notes, and that way I can get it done. And while I'm doing that is when I have to figure out the chronology that I'm going to read it, because I don't always read the notes from the book on the podcast in the same order that they are in the book, because sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Sometimes there's so at the same time I'm doing that, I'm going back and figuring out what direction I'm actually going to read them.
Oh, right.
So sometimes my conclusion of the book is different than the author's conclusion of the book.
Yeah.
So I got to go back and say, I got to go back pages or forward or whatever. So that's what I'm figuring out there as well. So that's kind of what the podcast prep looks like. Now, how to stay focused and patient while reading books. This is really difficult. I don't have a long attention span. When I have a long attention span, it's only because I absolutely force myself to do it. So what I would prefer to do is to read in small chunks. I want to do work for like an hour at a time. Right? When I'm writing, I want to work for about an hour. When I'm reading, I want to read for about an hour. After that, I want to get up and break something or throw something or lift something or run somewhere. You know what I mean? I have an hour of patience with me. Of course, unfortunately, that's not enough time, especially when you're doing a podcast a week and you got to read a whole book. Well, guess what? You got to read for longer. You got to read for 2-3 hours at a pop. I'll try and make it that I do an hour early in the morning. Sometimes when I'm behind the curve, I will read first thing in the morning before I work out, because I just want to get an hour done. Then I get to go and release, right? Then I get done with the workout, take a shower. Now I'm going to read for another 45 minutes. Okay, good. Now I'll do something else. Little pre-lunch reading. So, and then before I go to bed, I'm doing another hour. So there, I just got 4 or 5 hours in a day without having to sit down and do something for 4 or 5 straight hours, which bothers the hell out of me. The other thing you can do, and I do this, is I'll read multiple books at the same time, which is an interesting tactic. I don't know if everybody should do that or could do that or would want to do that, but sometimes one book gets boring. But I know I got to read, so I just have 2 books, 3 books all sitting there, and I'm reading them all at the same time, and that makes them a little bit more interesting. And the last thing I would say about trying to be focused on and patient when you're reading books is to try to really understand what it is that is happening in the book, not just from a plot perspective, but from a human perspective. What is that person going through? What is that like for that person? What are they thinking? And I get to a point where I'm so engaged, I feel like I'm becoming the author. I feel like I'm in the book sometimes when I'm reading it. Yeah. So that is another good way to keep it engaging. Because if you're seeing it from the outside and you're not really in it, well then it's just not as engaging, simply put. Yeah. If you get into it and you start thinking about that person, you go back, do a little Wikipedia search on the author and see who they are. That gives you like a little insight. Yeah. And that helps me. Now I connect with them. I know that they're from New Jersey. I know that they went to this college. I know that they played soccer. So now when I'm reading about them, I'm going, oh yeah, so I try and get a little background on that person. Gives me a little bit more engagement. Dang. That's that. That's my reading habits.
It's kind of advanced. And it makes more sense, I think, that like how you say you want to put yourself in the guy's head, Yeah. Actively, I'm going to consciously put myself in the guy's head. Sometimes people are so good at writing where that just happens naturally. Mm-hmm. But when you do that, it's like you can kind of get the story, of course, but most of the time all the time it's lessons learned. Like, what do you learn? Mm-hmm. It's almost like when your head is in it like that, all the lessons are just flying into your brain, Yeah. Because it's almost like you're doing, like, you're going through that war or that particular ambush or something like that. And then, they talk about the mistakes and all that, but you feel the mistake.
Yeah. And also I have some experience with what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, so it's like a double
so
gravitation.
I'm not saying. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I don't have even close to the experience of the books that I'm reading on this podcast. These guys that were in the Battle of Iwo Jima and the Battle of the Bulge. No, nothing I did compared to anything that they do. But do I know what it's like to be waiting to go into a bad situation? Do I know what it's like to be shot at? Do I know what it's like to, have guys getting wounded? Yeah, I know what that's like. So that's a little connection too. But I think, everybody that's been in stressful situations of any kind, you can say, oh, what must that feel like?
Right.
Hey, I know what it's like when I was waiting to go in for a job interview and I was completely stressed out, and that's what this guy must be feeling right here. Only even worse. So then you make that little mental connection, little mental leap, and you can, like you said, you can then learn more from it.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Yeah. So if I'm going into this particular situation, in a book, I'm reading it, and I'm not as engaged as maybe I could be. This guy goes through XYZ experience. I'm looking at it from my opinion, like, well, I could handle that, kind of thing. But this guy's the type of guy who that's maybe part of his weakness or something like that. And vice versa, where, like, I don't know, something about claustrophobia. I might be like, dang, but that claustrophobia part of the story isn't necessarily a huge part of the lesson that you're trying to get from it.
Right.
So you might there might be some disconnects there if you don't. Because they have a certain intention, and you have a certain intention. So if
That's
yours
true.
is the lessons learned, you might miss some of those lessons. Just the feeling of missing.
For sure. I'm not going to get everything out of a book. That's why when you get a really good book, you read it multiple times, and you get more out of it every single time that you read it. No doubt about that one.
Yeah, it's true. Next question. Is it okay if extreme ownership sometimes feels inauthentic? Example, taking ownership of something not really your responsibility. When does extreme ownership become excessive self-blaming?
Okay, so again, this was 2 questions. There was multiple questions like this on the interwebs. If extreme ownership feels inauthentic, or if you're taking ownership of something that's not really your responsibility. So yes, there is a chance that you're going too far. However, the chances is that there really is something that you can do about it. And too often people say, well, it's just something I couldn't control. For example, right? There's things that you have zero control over, right? And you could easily just say, hey, I couldn't control that, and therefore I can't take ownership of it. For instance, if we were planning an operation and the weather went bad, and so now our vehicles got stuck. So we could say, hey, weather got bad. There's nothing I could do about it. And that's, people say, well, yeah, you can't control the weather. No human being can control the weather. Well, guess what? You could make that excuse and be okay with it. Guess what else you could do? Hey, I didn't have a good contingency plan for bad weather, for rain. We should have brought tow ropes with us. We should have brought a winch with us so we could get out. That's what I should have done. So yes, even though it's really easy and it's like a 90% to just say, hey, it was bad weather, nothing I could do about it, you could do something about it. And that's when you start making those excuses, they're going to hurt you. Same thing in the business world, right? Oh, well, the market, I can't control the market, right? The market went down. We weren't expecting it to go down. And now, there's nothing we could do about it. It wasn't my fault. Oh, really? Because what you could have done was diversify your income streams, right? You could have diversified your income streams so you weren't relying 100% on this one segment of the market, and now you're suffering. But all you do is say, well, not my fault. We can't control the market. The market went down. Well, actually, you can control your position. Right. You control how you were set up strategically. You didn't do that. So when you do those things, it's generally, there is something you could have done about it. There's generally something you could have done about it. And so if it feels inauthentic, sure, question yourself, but then say, okay, what could I have done about this? And I would say this, even when you're with your troops and you say, look, I didn't have full control of the market. I should have done this a little bit better. We should have planned to diversify our income streams better. I didn't do that. Here's where we're at. Here's where we're going to move forward. The guys aren't going to say, like, hang you out to dry because you took ownership of that thing. They're going to realize, look, Jocko's taking ownership of that. That's cool. We did get shafted by the market, and oh well, lesson learned. We're going to move forward. But when you just come in and say, hey, market went down, not my fault, you lose respect to your guys. So don't do that. Now, all that being said, is there situations where, or are there situations where extreme ownership actually does become excessive self-blaming? And the answer is yes, because there are certain situations where there actually is nothing that you could do. So, for example, and this is a great example, speaking of lessons learned from the book Company Commander that we just went over on the podcast, Captain McDonald, they got assaulted by like basically the entire German army. And they were left to try and hold the line with pistols and rifles against Tiger tanks, right? And 88 millimeter guns and thousands of troops attacking them. He could not have stopped them. Like you cannot stop a division of soldiers with a company of soldiers. You can't do it. Especially when they have artillery and they have tanks and you don't have any tank support. It's an unwinnable situation. So for him to continually blame himself and say, I should have planned better, could he say that? Sure. He did what he did with the information that he knew at the time. If he would have known it was a division attack, they would have set up differently. He thought he was just setting up a typical defensive perimeter, right? So can you get to a point where you're blaming yourself excessively? Yes, you can. And you do need to be somewhat cognizant of that. I'm going to tell you those cases are extremely rare. Extremely rare. Most of the time you have a lot more control over your own destiny than you think you do. And the worst thing you can do is continually say, you know what, this is one of those rare instances where I had no control. It's probably not. It's probably an instance where you did have control. So keep it in the back of your mind, but keep in the front of your mind ownership.
Yeah. Seems like excessive self-blaming. That sounds like, maybe someone who's fully blaming themselves and then like instead of taking action to, implement corrective measures, something like this, they're like, I suck, and maybe they go into a depression or something like this.
Or
they're gun shy now.
Yeah, what you're getting, absolutely. They dwell on it, right? They dwell on the mistake. They dwell on the fact that things didn't go their way. They dwell on the fact that it's their fault. And now they're, like you said, gun shy. That's great. Indecisive. People get indecisive. So those are great points. You definitely don't want to do that excessive ownership where it gets to a point where it turns you into an indecisive person that's not going to make decisions because you're scared you're going to fail. You don't trust yourself anymore. Yeah, that's a great point. That is excessive. What you need to do is say, okay, this was the problem. This was my fault. Here's what I'm going to do to fix it. I'm going to move on. Yeah. We can't dwell on the stuff that happened in the past. Can't do it. Good point.
That, how how earlier, how you kind of started this where if you, let's say, okay, the opposite. Let's say you're a blamer, right? You're like, something goes wrong and you blame someone. If someone's blaming me for something, for everything, all the time, of course, the defense comes up and all this stuff that always happens. But after a while, they build that rep as being a blamer,
Oh, for sure.
So now just it starts to become automatic that you're defensive against this guy. You don't trust him, all this stuff. But the same kind of goes opposite. If someone's always taking responsibility for the whole deal, they're not blaming you at all. They're like, no, it's my fault. No, it's my fault. They're correcting it. You have a bunch of stories like this where guys are like, no, it's my fault. No, it's my fault. And they all want to jump in, And so the point there is like after a while, you build that rep where it's automatic. People will automatically not have any kind of defense or whatever. They automatically want to solve problems.
Yeah, that's true too.
That rep, man. Building trust is how you put it.
It is building trust. It is indeed.
Interesting. Next question. What made you choose literature for your degree?
Again, I think I've answered this before, probably a few times, so I'll keep it brief, but a bunch of people did ask a question along those lines. the reason I wanted to become better at English and the reason I studied English in college is because I had seen the importance of language in the military. Written and spoken. So written, you're doing evaluations, you're writing and reading and receiving orders, you're writing and receiving rules of engagement, concept of operations, awards, field manual, all these things that you do in the military are written. Either you're writing them or you're reading them. So to be able to write well and to be able to read and understand well is very important. On top of that, the spoken word, you're doing briefings, you're giving op orders, you're doing interviews or you're getting interviewed, you're even doing like interrogations. All these things are spoken word. So the better command you have of the English language, the better you're going to be at those. And furthermore, in that book that we read, The Armed Forces Officer, 1955 edition, I think it is. I don't have the quote on me, but leadership is communicating. That's what it is. It's communicating with other people what the idea is, what the goal is. So communication is the use of words. So the better you can use words, the better job you're going to do as a leader. And that's what I realized when I had the opportunity to go to college and got to pick my degree. That's why I picked it. Pretty simple.
Dig it. Also, it seems like when somebody's your boss or your leader in whatever capacity, you know, like when someone misuses a word, like, or they'll say they'll say irregardless, you know, when it's something that's like you totally said that wrong. After a while, you kind of like it's that feeling like I don't really
disrespect this person.
Yeah. Or the guy who goes on a Facebook rant, even if he's not your boss or something, he's on a Facebook or whatever, Twitter.
Yeah,
he goes on this rant. But then he's like misusing your, you know, or failing to put a period. So, you know, it's like it's almost like you have that feeling like you can't take him seriously. You want him to take you seriously.
Language is important.
Yeah.
It is definitely important.
I mean, not because technically, I mean, really, how much bearing does that really have if the idea sound? But it just seems that way.
At the same time, it does. And I'll tell you, like, one thing, I'm not a good speller. If it wasn't for spell check, I'd spell all kinds of stuff wrong.
Yeah, but
I never studied spelling because when I was a kid, I wasn't, because that's when you learn to spell, I think, was when you're a kid. I didn't pay much attention to spelling. I never have. So
but just the fact that you care, though, that's like the major part of it.
Yeah.
You know how you're like, okay, there's spell check.
Yeah, and one thing that's cool is, by the way, you don't need to major in English to get good at writing and get good at communicating. You could major in anything as long as you... It'd be nice to take a couple courses, though, because when you do start diving in, and I'll tell you, Shakespeare's a big one. When you start diving into understanding Shakespeare for real, you really learn how to read well. Oh, yeah. You really learn how to read well. Yeah. And when you submit papers that are being graded by somebody that is a master with grammar, and they're picking you apart, you learn how to write better. There's no doubt about it. And so that's why I enjoyed both those aspects, both reading and truly understanding stuff, and writing and being graded in such a way that someone's saying, hey, you didn't need to use this word. You could have shortened this sentence. And basically everyone's goal is to make things cleaner and shorter most of the time. Clarity, though, is, to me, the most important factor. I want to make sure that what I'm saying is very clear. So, yeah, English. I took a class called Advanced Grammar and Syntax.
Dig it.
And I would have taken, you know, multiple classes if they only had one.
That was all you. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of the best things I did was because my guys had to write evaluations. My subordinate leadership would have to write evaluations when I was it happens my whole career, but, once I became an officer. But when I was at the training command, I had 100 guys or so, probably more than that. But everyone had to have an evaluation written. And so it was the senior guys, the senior leader, my subordinate leadership, my direct subordinate leadership that would write their evaluations. And so if you didn't police these guys up in the get-go, there'd be issues. So I brought them in and I said, hey, bring me your best evaluation of your best guy. And so they brought him in, we put him up on the screen, and I murdered him. I murdered them all. And it was so good because they all got so much out of it. You probably need to go through that drill like one time, maybe 2 times of someone murdering your writing. Because all you do is you start off, you just read their sentence to them. And that's all you do. You start off,
right?
just read their sentence, just what they have written. You just read it. And they go, and you say, is that what you're trying to say? And they go, no, I just stop, well, I'll go back. Because a lot of times when you read something aloud to yourself, you recognize how jacked up you wrote it.
Yeah.
So that's like lesson number 1 in writing with more clarity. Just read your sentences and see what they sound like. So,
well, you can't really read your own though, right? Because when you read your own, you know exactly what you were saying, even though you said it wrong.
You can read your own, and that will be helpful. But yeah, sometimes you'll already have an idea in your head, so you won't get the full benefit of having someone else read it aloud to you and laugh at you. So yeah, English is definitely important, and it's fun too. I enjoy one of the odd things, like for Twitter, I have fun fitting something into 140 characters. That's enjoyable to me. I know that's like a twisted thing.
It's like a little puzzle.
Yeah, it's a little puzzle. And now what word could I use? And maybe I could get it in there. That's kind of fun for me. Right? There was something, and I had that kind of fun in some of the English classes that I took where I was trying to just get the perfect words. And so there's a little puzzle too. It's a lot of fun. It can be fun. It can be fun if you have that type of personality.
Yeah. Interestingly, I don't find you to be a grammar Nazi.
No, I wouldn't say I'm a grammar Nazi much, because I just don't think I'm an overt grammar Nazi. I think I find it. I think I kind of just say, "Oh yeah, that's poorly written."
Yeah, to yourself, kind of.
Yeah, to myself. Yeah.
Covert grammar
I mean, unless
Nazi.
it's someone that is going to turn something in, and I just have to say, "Hey, man, this is not good."
Yeah,
Stop.
which technically that's not being a grammar Nazi. Grammar Nazi is like me and you. I'm telling you about Jiu Jitsu something.
Yeah.
Or the beach, and you're like, hey.
I correct you.
Yeah.
I don't do that a lot, because you know why?
It's not
Partially, not only is it not cool, but it's a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to say something about like being from the streets, which is a major exaggeration because I'm not from the streets, although I spent some time in the streets. But I enjoy language, right? Yeah. I enjoy language, and so when somebody speaks improperly, I actually like it. Yeah. It's a different thing. I mean, even Cormac McCarthy, probably my favorite writer, he does all kinds of crazy things. He doesn't use a lot of punctuation. He doesn't use quotes. So you're dealing with a whole nother ball game. I'm not slamming him. Yeah. And honestly, it makes it harder. In many cases, it makes it harder to read what he's written. Yeah. And people say, well, he says, that you shouldn't need quotations. Well, sometimes you need them. Yeah. But I'm not going to sit here and criticize Cormac. Yeah. I'm not going to do it.
Bro, that makes so much sense. I never thought about that. Two things actually. Where you like it, like there's these memes and they're so funny, where it'll just have a picture, maybe familiar, maybe not, and then it'll have like some little saying on top of it, like how it looks when she goes through your phone, I don't know, something like that. And a lot of those memes are just no grammar, it's almost just an ignorant person wrote it, and it makes it way more funny. So overall, the point there is like people talking pidgin or something like that, or with a crazy accent, their English not that, it can be more enjoyable experience. It's a more in-depth experience for sure. So there's that. But at the same time, there are certain situations where if you misuse a comma or or don't put quotes or something like that, you can literally say something different. For sure. Then misunderstandings can kind of creep in.
Yeah, and people ask me about, I hate to bring this up right now because this is just like a bloodbath argument.
Bring it up.
The Oxford comma, which you can look at in the interwebs, but it's basically when you say a list of things, the last thing that you're going to say, which normally you say and this, the Oxford commas, you put a comma before that and. And for me, it makes things very, very clear. And the reason some people don't use it, it came from I think it came from newspaper, where they're trying to, fit stuff in the column, or they got to fit stuff in the newspaper. So hey, we can get rid of that comma. It's not needed. That's kind of where it started, but it's not proper. And sometimes it makes sense, but a lot of times it doesn't. So anyways, that's one small example. And the other funny thing, because I was talking about Cormac McCarthy, I'm going to say this little thing too because it reminded me of it. Another thing in the Success Magazine interview or article, it wasn't an interview, it was an article. He said, the writer, who's a good dude, he said, Jocko rarely does interviews, right? And that's when Tim Ferriss said that 2 years ago. Tim Ferriss was 100% correct because I had done 0 interviews. So he could have said he's never done an interview before. Tim Ferriss would have been speaking the truth, and he was at the time. Since then, I don't know how many freaking interviews I have done. I have done interview upon interview upon interview upon interview. It's ridiculous. And I put in my little Facebook rebuttal to the argument or my comments about or corrections to the article. I said, I actually do interviews all the time. If you want someone that rarely does interviews, that's Cormac McCarthy. Because Cormac McCarthy, he doesn't do interviews. He does. He's got I think he's done 1 interview in the past 20 years with Oprah Winfrey. That's it. 20 years. One of the most, one of the best writers of our time, living today. Yeah. Is he going to come on the podcast? Nope, he's not. He should.
He rarely comes on podcasts.
He should. He should come on this podcast.
Amen. I agree.
But
yeah, cool. Also, if you see a lot of misused grammar and you let it go and you see a lot of it, you get better at understanding it. You know how certain people, they'll be like, oh, this guy's accent is too thick. I can't understand them. Meanwhile, the guy next to you is like, oh, I heard that accent before plenty times.
Right.
My neighbor is Jamaican or whatever. So they understand. It's kind of like that idea. People misusing words, grammar all messed up. But if you're used to that, you're like, oh, I see what they're saying. It has a lot to do with the context as well. But I'm just saying if you're familiar with that situation. So it kind of expands your mind to allow people to use bad grammar.
Yeah.
That's not to say you should use bad grammar. I'm just saying from a standpoint of understanding.
I could see where you're coming from. I'm not sure that I would completely buy into that, but we'll go with it for this.
Can't get down with that. All good, man.
Well, you're right in the fact that some people can understand accents really well.
Yeah.
And for me, it depends on the accent. Some accents I can understand fine. Some accents I can't.
Yeah, and it has to do with what you're familiar with.
Yes, yes, you are correct. Next question.
Jocko, what do you think about mechanical warrior robots in the SEAL teams?
Again, this is a question where people ask me this because there's weird hype and what's the word? Conspiracy type attitude about artificial intelligence and robots and all that. And so my thoughts are robots, like warfighting robots, awesome. Let's build the most awesome destruction robots and let's build an army of them and let's let them get after it. I think it's awesome. You look at what's happening right now with drones and unmanned air vehicles. That's where we're going. In another, I forget the name. I mean, I forget the specific time frame, but in 10, 20, 30 years, there's not going to be any more manned fighter jets, military fighter jets. So why would you do that? You can put a computer in there and you can fly it from the ground, or you don't even need to fly it. It'll do your mission that you want it to do. So when we can come up with a robot, a Terminator robot that can go and attack and take care of the problem, yeah, let's do that. I support it. And the whole idea that robots will turn against us, we'll build better robots that will kill those robots. I'm not worried about that. Or we'll fight the robots. Yeah, I don't care. I say bring it on. Bring on the robots.
Yeah.
I'll crush you.
Yeah, it's
I know, like Joe Rogan, he'd be freaking out about some robots. And I think, pretty much everybody, I'm probably the ignorant person here, right? Because the smart people, like Elon Musk and Sam Harris, they're all, you got to watch out because this artificial intelligence is going to become smarter than us. And then what are we going to do? It's going to attack us and control us.
Yeah, their thing is if it winds up that they ultimately figure out, and they won't be wrong, that's the view. If they figure out that they don't need us, then the logical thing would be to eliminate us.
Yeah.
Like everybody and everything does ever, you know?
Yeah. And I got to admit, like, that sounds pretty cool to me. I say bring it. I want that robot war. Yeah. Let's get it on.
Well, typically robots, I mean, we say unmanned.
Hey, I got a question for you. How about we unplug them, right? Cut their power source.
Yeah, but typically, I mean, even that, when you know, I don't think it, I think that's a simple thing for a robot, if they're smart, to understand. Oh, they might very well cut our power source, so they're gonna figure that out pretty quick. I would imagine if they're turning. But I
like the way Sam Harris described artificial intelligence one time. Though he said, "Imagine that I ask you a question, and then you have a year to go and research and come up with the perfect answer, and then you come back and you answer that question, but it happens in a millisecond." That's what a computer's gonna be able to do.
Yeah,
and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And do they end up then? And I don't even know what you'd call a person that theorizes about this kind of thing. I'm not one of them. Mm-hmm. But that's pretty unbelievable. And it'll only get faster and better from there. Mm-hmm. I just think that I don't think it's too hard to put controls in there that prevent the turning of the robots,
like preventative mechanisms.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about unmanned stuff, and
you know what? I'm about to make a movie reference.
Hit
RoboCop.
Hit it.
RoboCop, old school. Because I think the story of that had some kind of a mechanism in there.
The directives.
The directive.
Prime directive.
Prime directive wasn't allowed to kill. Wait, isn't Prime directive? What's that from? Is that from RoboCop?
I think so. I know they're uphold the law, protect the innocent. I'm not doing it in order. Something about trust.
See, if you were AI, you'd be able to come back with a perfect answer.
I know.
But you program in that you can't hurt humans or whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
Like this rigid thing.
Let's. This is another situation. Let's see where it goes. I'm good. Yeah. Rock and roll.
But the unmanned thing, I mean, it's based on like patterns, you know. So the unmanned thing, usually you're not going to find something that's really technically unmanned. Even a drone is not unmanned. It's just less manned.
They can be unmanned.
It's just less manned.
Somebody programmed it where to go, but you can put a drone in the sky that's going to go.
Yeah, but see what you say, you can put. Someone's got to put them in the sky. Someone's got to launch. So it's going to be manned. Like the intentions of something, like that first intention of something, it's going to be manned.
For sure.
Once you give that up, then you're like, okay, now you got some problems.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, again, I'm just not sitting around worried about this kind of thing. So I'll let Joe Rogan and Sam Harris and Elon Musk worry about keeping the robots in line.
Yep.
You know what I'll be ready to? I'll be ready to fight them if they need me. Bring it.
Yep. Sure. Next question. Unless you want to talk about robots some more.
No.
That's cool. Okay. Or RoboCop.
No.
Yeah. See, even RoboCop was manned. He was a man, part machine.
No, but the big machine that the initial one that caused the problems.
Who, Ed 209?
The thing that looked like it had big legs.
Yeah, Ed 209, man. He malfunctioned and murdered
that guy
in front of
the guy.
everybody.
Yeah.
Dang,
you have 4 seconds to comply.
Yeah.
You have 3 seconds to comply. You have 2 seconds to comply. Hey, shut it off, buddy.
Bro, the first time you watched that, bro, that was tense, bro. That was a harsh scene. Oh, you loved it, though, huh?
Yeah.
Savage.
I guess so.
Ed 209. Jocko. What's your favorite submission?
Again, trying to do a little rapid fire here because people ask me this all the time. Favorite submissions? Because I got to go plural on that one.
Got it.
Kimura and guillotine. Those are my 2 favorite submissions, I think. The reason why is because they're both really effective gi and no gi. They're both really effective from the bottom, right? You can do them from the top. You can do them from half guard. You can do them from mount. You can do them from a lot of different positions. You can do them in the street. You can do them in MMA. And you can do them in Jiu Jitsu. So I just like the fact that they're kind of universal positions and very effective in every aspect of Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good. I'd go for the Kimura.
You like rear naked choke
and the rear naked choke, for sure. Yeah, those are ones that you don't, like, they're big. They're like granddad. There's a few of them. They're the granddaddy submissions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and you could say arm lock is one of the granddaddies. I just find the Kimura to be a higher percentage move.
Right.
Now lately, my last several years, I've been using more straight arm locks again. But
Like what, like arm bar or just a straight arm?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Because all my training partners are so good at defending my Kimuras.
Yes.
That I have to go to alternate moves.
Yeah.
Actually, I surprised you the other day with you were kind of depressed too. You remember what I'm talking about?
Because you like that was like a few weeks ago.
It was probably more than that. But I remember your reaction. Your
Yeah.
reaction was sort of like, I can't believe he got me with an arm lock.
And I even like made a comment.
Yeah, you
during
did.
the roll, like when you were going for it, I'm like you're not gonna get that.
Yeah.
And it kind of
How'd that
seemed like
work
you
out?
turned up the heat when I said
Oh
that.
yeah. I don't like when people challenge
No.
that situation.
Challenge yourself, dude.
All
Yeah,
right.
man. Yeah, those are good. I agree. Next question, Jocko. You discuss making sure your teams have the freedom to make strategic changes to the plan if needed. What if you're developing a system with your team and you begin to get pushback from them before you feel the core values are established?
So, this is a really good question once again. You start coming up with your plan and you're already starting to get some pushback from the boys on what it is. Well, what do? Listen to them. Listen to them. Why are they pushing back? You know what I mean? Why are they pushing back? Maybe they have some good points. Is that possible? Maybe you're a little bit off base on the plan that you're coming up with or the strategy that you're coming up with. Maybe you're not. Of course, that's always possible too. Maybe they're wrong and you're right. But hear them out. You know, if I say, hey, we're going to hit the target from this direction here, and my team disagrees with what I'm saying, well, why are they disagreeing? What's the reason for that? You know, how do they think we should do it? They should think we should come in from the south, and I think we should come from the north. Why do they think that? Now, if I know something is right, and I am right, then guess what? I can explain it to them, and they'll say, oh, Jocko, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
We didn't know that there was defenses that we hadn't been told about to the south, and that's why we should come into the north. Or we didn't know that the sun would be at our back from the north, and that's why. We didn't know that at the time. So, you're right. Now, if I can't explain it to them, if I can't give them a reason why my strategy or my plan is better, then there's something wrong with my plan. Or there's something wrong with my ability to explain it to them, right? So if you're doing the right things for the right reasons, you'll be able to convince your team of the strategy or of the plan. And if you can't, it's a hint that maybe you need to adapt your strategy or maybe you need to adapt your plan. Now, be advised, this is not easy. This is not easy to do. First of all, you have to get your ego in check, right? Because you think you've come up with the plan and you think it's the master plan, so you have to put your ego in check. Secondly, you might actually have the best plan, but maybe you don't have the ability to articulate the nuances of the plan. And so you get a guy that's a really articulate guy that's arguing with you on his plan, and he's actually winning the argument, even though your plan might be better. Mm-hmm. That's a tough situation to be in. So that means you've got to really get in the weeds. Now, one thing that you could do in that situation is say, hey, I'm in charge. Shut up. Listen to me. Mm-hmm. And again, this might be a situation where you're right and they're wrong. But if you can't articulate that properly, and now the only way to do it is to pull rank on them, hey, you're going to go backwards, right? You're going to go backwards. So you have to be very careful of that. Again, this is why it's important to have good command of the English language. That's why it's important to listen. That's why it's important to take people's ideas. And that's the thing with being a leader, okay? Have an open mind. Have open ears. Listen. Communicate. And lead your team not by rank, right? But by being able to discern and uncover and mold and shape the best possible plan and the best possible strategy by and through understanding everyone's perspectives and ideas, and then taking all those perspectives and all those ideas and coordinating them into a unified thought that leads the team to victory. That is hard. That is hard to do.
Yeah.
But the minute that I'm telling somebody, hey, no, just do it my way, I know that there's something wrong here. Either I'm not articulating right, which means I should take the time, because if I'm right and you're wrong, we should be able to get there to where you see that.
Yeah.
We should be able to get there. We could also get to a point where it's 6 and 1, half dozen the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? We could get to that point too. And at that point, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use your plan. Dang. If it's 6 and 1, half dozen the other, I'm going to use your plan.
Yeah.
Echo says come in from the north. I say come in from the west. We look at the pros and cons of each. I'm going to go with your plan. Would you want to come in from the west? Yeah, okay. If it's 50-50, I'm going to go with your plan. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the ownership. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Even, I'll tell you, even 60-40, I'm probably going to give it to you. We get to, 70-30, now you're going to see it. Mm-hmm. You're going to see the light.
Yeah.
If you have any brain. Now, you could also be an egomaniac, right? Who's like, my way, my way, my way. Right. Now we've got to break through that. How do we do that? It's not by attacking your plan, which you're going to defend because you're an egomaniac. Instead, I'm going to say, well, tell me the benefits of your plan. Let's weigh it out between your plan and my plan. Maybe we adapt your plan a little bit. Oh, I like what you did here. I see where you're coming from. That's a really good point. I didn't think of that. But also, we need to consider this that I didn't, we didn't know before. So now we got to adjust. So those are the things that are hard. Those are the things that are hard about being a leader. But the best thing you can do, open your mind, open your ears, listen to what people are saying, take it on board. If their plan is better than yours, great, use it. If it's not better than yours, okay, articulate the reasons why. Have the conversations with them. Don't be scared.
It's a slick move. I didn't think of that.
Oh, for sure.
Nice.
Got to build up their ego if they got the big ego. We got to flank them.
Yeah, that's good. Get other people's perspectives, because it can seem like a 50-50 or it can seem like 60-40, but it can also seem like a 64 or 70-30, your plan is better, but to them 70-30, their plan is better because of their perspective.
Yeah,
let's say there's rats down this trail.
Yeah.
I don't like rats. But if you didn't know that, you're like, for rats, who cares kind of thing, know?
Yeah.
Dang, bro, you're advanced.
Dogs would be a better thing.
Sure.
To say rats aren't going to interfere with your mission. Yeah. Dogs start barking, and maybe they had somebody, they read an intel report that said there was a bunch of dogs up in this residence to the north. So we want to come in from the west. I didn't know that. I didn't do a good enough. So now it's easy thing to convince me of, right? Yep. But all we have to do is have the conversation.
Yeah, understand the perspective.
Talk and communicate.
Those dogs with rabies.
Put your egos in check.
Yeah, or snakes, by the way, if you're Indiana Jones or something like this. Next question. Jocko, have you encountered any gaps in the leadership capabilities of officers from West Point or the other academies?
Okay, so for those of you that don't know what the service academies are, there's West Point, there's the Naval Academy, which gives you Navy and Marine Corps officers. West Point gives you Army officers. The Air Force Academy gives you Air Force officers. And the Coast Guard Academy gives you Coast Guard officers. They're 4 years. They're military school. They're really hard to get into. They're extremely competitive. They have massive amount of tradition at all of them, and they are highly disciplined and hard to get through. So you would think, right, that what I just said would produce a standard, a very high standard of an outstanding officer. The fact of the matter is, in my career, it really makes no difference. Because there's other ways that you can have officers, other avenues that officers come from. They can come from ROTC, which is when you go to a regular college and you basically take classes about being an officer and you get shown how to wear a uniform and all that. You can go to OCS, which is when you graduate from college, you go to a program for 13 weeks or however long. Each service has a little bit different. In the Navy, for me, I went to OCS. It was 13 weeks. That was after being enlisted for 8 years. You can be a prior enlisted guy like me, which is you get your commission after you've been in the military. And so all those, I had outstanding officers, or I worked with outstanding officers from each one of those commissioning sources. had outstanding Naval Academy guys, outstanding West Point guys, outstanding ROTC guys, outstanding OCS guys, just outstanding guys. Great leaders. And guess what? I also had crap leaders that were from the Academy, crap leaders that were from West Point, crap leaders that were from OCS, crap leaders that from ROTC. So, and crap. And by the way, probably the biggest example of the disparity of good and bad is prior enlisted. So prior enlisted means that you were an enlisted grunt, you were a frontline trooper in the SEAL teams or in the military, and then you get your commission. That's what I did. And I had great officers that were like that, and I also knew horrible officers that were like that. So for me, it doesn't really matter what your commissioning source is. It matters who you are as a person and who you are as a leader. And if you have those characteristics that make you a good leader, if you're humble, if you listen, if you're dynamic, if you're articulate, all those things that make a good leader, if you have them, it doesn't really matter your commissioning source. If you don't have them, doesn't really matter your commissioning source. That's what I've experienced in my time. So it is interesting. I thought when I first joined the military, I thought these guys that came from the Naval Academy that I'm going to work with in the SEAL teams, they're going to be really awesome because they went to 4 years of leadership training and learning how to lead. And I mean, Brian Stan's a great example, right? You could hear he got a lot out of the Naval Academy, a ton, just the way he talked about it. I bet that Brian Stan would be an outstanding officer if he went to the Naval Academy, if he went to OCS, or if he went to ROTC. It's just, he's got great... Yeah. Did he learn lessons there? Yes, but he had an open mind to learn those things. And so, yeah, the service academies are definitely awesome and really great tradition in all those. But, I don't think you need to go to a service academy to be a good officer, and I don't think it really matters. What matters is what kind of leader and person you are.
Is that the kind of deal where you just never know who you're going to get at the end? Because some people, they're really good at, these people, they'll get really good grades, but out in the field, they do substandard performance-wise.
Totally.
Because they're good at getting good grades, or they're good at taking classes kind of thing. Good at memorizing or whatever. You know? And then, interesting.
But you don't know what you get as a person. Well, like, how were they brought up?
Right.
Well, Brian Stan's story, cool about how he got brought up. He just you could see that he wasn't taught his leadership ability, in my opinion, at the Naval Academy. Did he learn there? Yes. Did he take away a lot from it? Yes. Anybody that heard him would probably think, I definitely would love to go to the Naval Academy. But, you listen to his story of his life, he learned a lot. Prior to, he learned a lot when he was at the TBS, the basic school. He just learned a lot, and he had an open mind. And he was a humble guy and a hard worker. That's what makes you a great officer. That type of thing.
Next question. Do smaller built dudes have a niche for SOF world? For the SOF world?
SOF world.
Yeah.
Special Operations Forces.
Yeah.
Check.
Do you say SOF?
Yeah,
you don't say SOF.
No, you don't say SOF.
Do smaller built dudes have a niche for the soft world? Any advantages, disadvantages with physical size of operators?
Well, special ops guys come in all shapes and sizes, for sure. They can be big, giant monster guys, and they can be little, tiny, skinny, wiry guys, and that's the way it is. And they're all needed in the special operations community. If you look at your average point man is a wiry, light guy that's quick and nimble. And you look at your average machine gunner, he's a big hoss of a dude that can tote around a bunch of weight. But also, there's a bunch of skinny little guys that are carrying a machine gun. There's some big guys that walk point, and that's the way it is. So is there a niche for certain body types? Yeah, I mean, there is. If you're a big guy, you should carry something big like a machine gun. If you're a small guy, you should try and be in a situation where you're carrying a little bit of a lighter load, like a point man or a rear security dude. But Both do both. And there's a bunch of other, you look at a radioman's got to carry a ton of weight too. So yeah, there's no real advantage or disadvantage. I would say you don't want to be that big and you don't want to be that small. But if you are, get some. Get some. There's just the way it is. There's gonna be things that are way harder for a bigger guy in the SEAL teams and in special operations, and there's gonna be things that are harder for a smaller guy, and that's the way it is. So, if you've got to do submarine lockouts and you're a big guy, you're gonna be in a little escape trunk, a little 6-foot sphere with a bunch of gear in there. It's not fun to be a big giant guy at that point.
No.
And when you get to the beach after you lock out of the submarine and you got to carry a 55 horsepower motor across the beach into a cache site and you weigh 143 pounds, that's not going to be fun for you. You want that big 260 pounder to come over and throw that motor on his shoulder and carry it into position. So that's why you have everything at a SEAL platoon. That's why diversity is good in terms of body styles.
Next question. Good morning. Do you ever get edgy, perhaps hangry, near the end of a fast? If so, how do you deal with it? I tend to have more difficulty controlling my emotions during the last few hours. Thank you.
Anyone that listens to me very often will probably know what I'm going to say here. If you think you're going to get edgy or you think you're going to get hangry, just be aware of it and don't get angry. Next question. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you're hungry and you're frustrated because you haven't eaten and now it's starting to get to you, just don't do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we were talking earlier about surfing without a leash or about, parachuting under a pressure situation where I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyways. Yeah. And I get focused on it. It's the same thing for me. When I'm doing a fast, I actually enjoy the fact that I'm under some excessive stressful situation. In fact, I like it better. I want to feel that. And then I want to say to myself, hey, you might get frustrated right now because you haven't eaten and your blood sugar's low. Yep. But I'm going to use the Echo Charles approach of, hey, that's weakness, right? Yeah. It's weakness. For me to be getting angry, it's weak. For me to be complaining because I'm on a tail end of a 72-hour fast, that's just weakness. I'm not going to complain. What are you talking about? You don't need to eat for 30 days. People can go 30 days without eating. My daughter, when she was cutting weight for wrestling this past season, she would say that. She'd say, she'd say, Dad, I would get really hungry. And then I just think people can live for 30 days without eating. I think I can make it through the next 8 hours. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. There's no reason to get hangry. That's just an excuse. Don't do it. Carry on with your airborne self.
Also, you know how I've said this before. There's a difference between how you feel and then how you behave.
True.
So you can get hangry on the inside, but once you start behaving like
Jiu Jitsu man get angry on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. Trading places. That was pretty good.
I like that.
Very good.
Actually, now that I think about it, when I was doing deployments back in the day in the 90s, there was nothing to do on a ship. We didn't have internet. No one wrote us letters. No one cared about us. There was so all we did was play spades and watch movies. And with movies we watched were on videotape. Because this is back in the day before CDs, before Netflix. You had videotape, and we had a crate full of videos. And so we were watching the same, cheesy movies over and over and over again. And probably Trading Places was one of them. Yeah. So if you go back, if you were to go back further in the movies, you're not, because what am I, 5 years older than you?
Yeah, 5, 6.
5 or 6 years. Yeah, so I'm just 5 or 6 years ahead of you on movies. So there's a whole bunch of cheesy movies that I actually know about that you might not know about.
Yeah,
and maybe. Occasionally we're getting an overlap. Trading Places.
Trading Places, iconic movie. Eddie Murphy, the man. Oh yeah, but hangry, right?
Karate Man bleed on the inside.
I like that word, hangry. By the way, that's fun, funny. But that implies that you're kind of like, oh, I'm hangry, you know, like you're expressing yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
don't express yourself.
Yeah.
Keep your emotions in.
Keep it on the in and act like a winner. You can feel like a loser on the inside.
Yeah.
You can feel hangry, but don't act like that. Don't let
ever
it make
let other people see you be all pathetic like that.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh yeah, I haven't eaten in 4 days. Whatever.
Whatever.
Oh, you know what? Oh, did you hear this joke? You know what I mean? Just, hey, I haven't eaten in 6 days.
Yeah.
No big deal. I'm going to go train Jiu Jitsu. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yep. So yeah.
Oh, what are you doing? Sitting around being weak? Don't do that.
I'll be over here doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, separate your feeling and your behavior. And typically when it's and you even have a word for it. It's not like it crept up on you and I had no control over it. No, you identified it, gave it a name, everything. And if my experience serves me, a lot of times when people say like, oh, I get hangry or I'm PMSing or I'm whatever, it's to explain their common behavior, meaning they just let it go. They embrace that's an excuse. That's how it is for them, kind of thing.
Please forgive me, I'm hangry.
Yeah, I get like that sometimes. What are you talking about? And you just let it go, you know? Be like that on the inside, be good on the outside. Separate the feelings versus behavior. Next question.
Stifle your emotions inside.
You know, they say, like, if you get, like, emotions, you gotta, like, let it out, punch a pillow or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess, as it turns out, that's not true.
No.
Because if you you know how you say stifle them.
Well, the reason I kind of say that with sarcasm is because I think for instance, like you're saying, people these days, they say, oh, you gotta let your emotions out. You gotta let your emotions out. If you gotta cry. And I understand where that's coming from. And you can get to a point as a person, if there's something that's really traumatic that's happening and all you do is hold it in. And I've seen guys get destroyed over that because they're not expressing the emotions that they have. Right. But that's at a big level, right? At a daily level, no. Yeah. You don't express those things. You keep them inside. That's why I say it like that. Like I'm being kind of sarcastic, but at the same time I'm being serious.
Yeah.
You know, it's just don't let your emotions out and into the world. Yeah. Keep them for yourself. Own them.
Yeah.
Keep them for yourself. Don't share them with other people if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Now, again, people are going to freak out that I'm saying this because bury your emotions. Because what happens when you when you've got something really traumatic that you bury, then it eats you apart. Yeah. And I've talked about that. I mean, talking about things that you go through in life and expressing those feelings that you have about them, that's good. Mm-hmm. But what we're talking about is not that. What we're talking about is daily emotions, little ups and downs, little tick marks on your Richter scale. We're not talking about an 8.8 on the Richter scale, right? We're talking about just like little twos.
Yeah.
And when you express those 2s and 3s on the Richter scale out to people, you just look unstable.
Hangry. That's a 2.
Yeah, that's a 2.
Yeah, overall, and this, I'm not to split hairs or nothing, but overall, it's more about dealing with your emotions, quote unquote. So yeah, if a good conducive way to deal with your emotions is to let them out, and there's all different kinds of emotions. Like if you're sad, if something's eating you up on the inside because of sadness or whatever, and it's conducive to your recovery, development, whatever, to express those emotions, then yes. But if you're hangry and you lose your temper on your kid, that's not you're not dealing with your emotions correctly. So
stifle your emotions.
But it's not really, it is stifling them.
It is.
But before you stifle them, you're identifying them. You're like, oh, hey, I'm hangry. Okay, I identified that. I'm going to separate feelings from behavior. That's dealing with your emotions right there. Yeah. That's dealing with them.
It's a great point that oftentimes expressing your emotions to the world doesn't improve your situation or your position at all.
Correct.
In fact, I would say that most of the time, expressing your emotions to the world sets you back. And that is why I vote in many cases to stifle your emotions. Keep them in.
Yeah.
Don't let other people see. You put your cards on the table, right? You put your emotional cards on the table. Now you can't gamble anymore. You're not in the game anymore. The person knows what's going on. Yep. That you're giving it to them. You're not going to know what I'm thinking. You're going to think everything's cool with me. Yep. We're training jiu-jitsu, right? if I'm getting frustrated and I show that to you,
right.
What does that do? You're getting, all of a sudden, you just go level up. You're thinking, oh, I got him. He's frustrated right now. He can't. Oh, I'm working. This is working against him. If I'm just saying the same face all the time, which is what I do primarily, hey, same face all the time. Just, moving the same way. When you do get me, I forget what you say. When you get me to react to something good.
Recognize the urgency.
Yeah, you say, oh, I recognize a little urgency there. And I always go, damn. I don't want him to recognize. I'd rather just have you just pass my guard and you're just there and me just sit there like it's no big deal because it's not. Then me get all panicky. Yeah. Where then you level up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing with life, right? Yep. Every time you express these big emotions to your boss or to your team, you express these big emotions to your team, they see all your cards. Don't let them see all your cards. Is this manipulating? Kind of. Right? This is one of those things where people think, oh, transparency. We hear that all the time these days. Transparency. You got to be transparent. No, actually you don't.
Yeah, not with that.
You don't have to be transparent all the time. Yeah. You have to win the game. You know what? Does the football coach go out and hand his playbook to the other football team? No. He's got to win the game.
Yeah, typically no.
And that's not how you win the game. So are we, what we're doing? We're playing chess. It's emotional chess. You're playing with other human beings. You want to win. Now, if you're winning so that I can take advantage of you, so I can manipulate you and get something from you that you don't want to give me, that's bad. And I'm not talking about doing that. But if what I'm doing is keeping my calm so that instead of escalating an argument with you, I'm getting you to see it from my perspective just by remaining calm, that's what we're talking about here. Leif told that story the other day where he tells the story a lot because it was a hilarious story where I came in, we didn't have a chance to talk to each other as he was planning this big operation, and I come in 10 minutes before the operation. I said, hey, let me see what you're doing, and he kind of shows me on a map, hey, we're going to go here, here, and there, and it's like, hey, you should do this instead. And he was like, dude, we're leaving in 10 minutes. And I said, man, but just think about it. And he goes, you know what? Just cancel the op. And he was all mad, right? And he's like, and Jocko kind of like laughed at me. I didn't laugh at him like a jerk, I was like, no, but I was like, hey man, listen, just think about what I'm saying right now. But that's an example. Right. I didn't show my emotions, which would be more like, dude, are you serious right now? You're gonna cancel an op because we have a difference of opinion? Think about I didn't do that. I was like, hey man, I get it. Right. Everyone's stressed out right now. We got to leave on this thing quickly. Think about what I'm saying, though. Look, this is all I'm saying. We could execute this in a better way. So that's what I'm talking about. Does that make me manipulative? No, it doesn't make me manipulative. It makes us as a team do a better job. Yeah. And as soon as Leif saw that, he was like de-escalated himself. He was good to go. We move on. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. Stifle your emotions at all times. Yeah. But, and just to address that, though, for real, when you do see the big emotional impactful things in someone's life and they don't express them, that absolutely is bad. And I'll tell you where you see this a lot is with kids. Yeah. Kids, teens, where there's something bothering them and they hold it in because they don't have anybody to talk to. They can't talk to mom and dad because mom and dad don't get it. Their friends are the people that they're pissed off at anyway, so they can't tell them what's going on. So they sit there and they harbor a lot of that anger, and that can be very problematic. And it goes all through adults as well. And at work, sometimes people they got problems at home, so they can't talk to their wife because that's what the problem was. They can't talk to their husband because that's the source of the problem. But then they get to work and they don't want to look like the person that's got problems at home, so they're not going to say anything there either. And the next thing you do, what are they doing? They're trying to escape those problems. How are they doing it? Instead of letting those problems out and talking to somebody about them, they're having a drink in the afternoon, getting on the alcohol, whatever. They're doing something that's negative and they're not moving forward at all. So those are not the kind of feelings and emotions that you want to subdue or stifle. Yeah. But these little 1s and 2s and 3s on the Richter scale,
being hangry,
get control of those things and stifle them.
Stifling certain emotions, 1s and 2s, is a good way to deal with them because because they're usually real spontaneous emotions anyway. I got hangry. They don't have the power to sustain. Yes. They're just they're there and then they just fade away. And that's cool. That's why. Yes, correct. And then over time, now you're good at dealing with them in that way.
Right.
When you get hangry and you've been, for 1 year, you've been dealing with it by just ignoring it, in regards to behavior, just not acting on it. Now you're good at doing that. Now it's automatic. Now you don't act hangry anymore. Next question. Okay, this is part question, part opinion. In podcast 13, you stated effectively, not explicitly, that jiu-jitsu is the martial art that takes the most time to become proficient. I disagree, and here's why. As a wrestler, I've been able to pick up jiu-jitsu in a matter of about 2 months, to the point where I can submit a blue belt here and there. I mostly control purple belt, possibly there is wide skill range along belts, which I only roll with lower level players. I might just be a bad teacher, but I've not had as much success teaching jiu-jitsu guys to wrestle. After the same amount of time there may be a low high school wrestling level. I found it extremely difficult to teach jiu-jitsu players to shoot, penetrate with their hips, or effectively use their hips to defend us or scramble. Possibly my sample size is too small to form an accurate opinion, but I'm curious of your thoughts on the topic. Thanks, love listening and learning.
So, yeah, I guess when I said that, I should have said grappling in general, which is definitely harder to achieve a basic level of competence in rather than striking. Now, don't get me wrong. You take a skilled boxer, they will destroy an unskilled boxer. You take a skilled Muay Thai guy, they will destroy an unskilled Muay Thai guy. You've trained with good Muay Thai people before,
yes,
right? The first person that I ever did that with that was a skilled Muay Thai, legit skilled Muay Thai, it was like black belt versus white belt, right?
Yeah.
I would think about throwing a kick at him, and he would check it,
yeah,
right? And then he would throw a kick at me before I even knew what was happening, right? Mm-hmm. They're that much better. They can see your hips. They move. It's the same thing with boxing. If you go against a good boxer, they'll jack you up. In that sport, right? In that sport, you will get worked. So now, that being said, a good wrestler is a good grappler. You are a good grappler, and that's why you're able to pick up jiu-jitsu very quickly, because wrestling is grappling, which is jiu-jitsu. Are there differences? Yes, there absolutely are differences. But it's like longboard surfing and shortboard surfing. If you're or baseball and softball. If you played baseball in college, when you get out on the office softball team, you're a killer. That's the way it is. It's because you played baseball. You didn't play technically softball. It's the same thing with wrestling. And as far as the fact that it doesn't take long to learn, if you're a high-level wrestler, to learn jiu-jitsu, yes, absolutely. You'll learn it very quickly. Look at the history of the UFC. Dan Severn, Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, Randy Couture, Tito, all those high-level wrestlers. And that's the history, because guess what? High-level wrestlers are there right now, too. John Jones, DC. It's wrestlers. It's wrestlers and wrestlers. Now, are there other guys that come in and fill it? But the I would say the majority base is wrestling.
Yeah.
So now you also have to look, speaking of history, you have to look at the early UFCs, or you go to any gym. And the fact is, a jiu-jitsu only guy beats a wrestling only guy in a fight 9 times out of 10. That's the way it is. Now, if the wrestler can learn very quickly, but if the wrestler only knows wrestling and the jiu-jitsu guy only knows jiu-jitsu, the jiu-jitsu guy is going to win. Simply because the wrestler doesn't know how to finish the fight. He doesn't know how to finish it. He doesn't have any submission holds to finish a fight. So can they occasionally 9 times, 1 time out of 10 or whatever, get something? And yes, that can happen. But and also, I'm not talking about if you take a NCAA wrestler,
right,
and you put him against a white belt,
yeah,
or maybe even a blue belt. There's a chance that the blue belt can't submit him. The guy's just too strong. That's if he has some awareness. If he has no awareness whatsoever, he's going to get tapped out.
Yeah.
And if you watch the early UFCs, That's exactly what happened. You know, the wrestlers, they might get position, but they were getting choked, they were getting tapped. And you go to any gym right now, you have a tough wrestler walk in that doesn't know any jiu-jitsu, he's going to get tapped out. I mean, for instance, right now at our gym, we got a really good wrestler named Taylor Johnson, and I'll bring his name up because I can remember it all because it's all been recent. He's been training now for less than a year. When he first came in, he was getting tapped out. You know, that's the way it is. He's a phenomenal wrestler. 2 months later, he wasn't getting tapped out. 6 months later, he's tapping people out. So that's what happens. But if you take physically kind of close people and you put pure wrestling against pure jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu is going to win. Now, there's also another thing that you're probably noticing in this situation, and that is that wrestling selects for athleticism. Right? Wrestling selects for athleticism. And for you to be competitive in wrestling, you need to be strong, quick, athletic, agile. All those things are important. And I've seen that, you know, with the school where my kids wrestle, and you see it, what it's like when you get a strong athletic kid and how they're able to execute moves better than someone that's not that good of an athlete. And so wrestling does that. Wrestling is selective. So if you wrestled, guess what? You're a really good athlete. And if you did well wrestling or you wrestled for a long time, you developed that athleticism because you had to be explosive. You had to train hard. So that's that. Also, blue belts, you look at a blue belt is basically a person that's been doing jiu-jitsu for a year, maybe 2 years, right? So that's the same thing as a lower level high school wrestler, right? A low level high school wrestler is a guy that didn't start wrestling until he was a freshman year. Started wrestling. Well, that's a low level high school wrestler. And guess what? He's getting beat. So you should be, if you're a good wrestler, you should be able to, once you understand the basic principles of jiu-jitsu, you should be able to beat blue belts because they're a year into the game. That's the way it is. Yeah, you take a competitive wrestler and you go against somebody that's, 7 years in, and now they're a brown belt. Well, that's a competitive high school wrestler. That's a senior, and he started training in 6th grade. That's 7-8 years. Go against a 7 or 8 year jiu-jitsu guy. You've got a good match, and likely the jiu-jitsu guy is going to win. And now, again, if you take a pure wrestler versus pure jiu-jitsu, the jiu-jitsu guy is going to win all day. So. There's no denying, and like I just said, there's a reason that wrestling is the premier skill set in the UFC that predicts champions. No doubt about it. It is a great and incredible martial art. I wish that wrestling had kept its roots as catch wrestling and still had submission holds and all that, because it would just completely change the game. But it doesn't, so you have to add them later. There's also something else too, where I think that people in general, wrestling's not for everybody, right? It's a very hard sport, and I think that people avoid that grind of, as far as okay, you're going to get good at wrestling now. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. Now I'm going to make you good at wrestling. Jiu-jitsu guys avoid the grind. I shouldn't say all of them, but some often. Jiu-jitsu guys avoid the grind of the takedowns and the intensity of wrestling. They're not looking for that. That's one of the things that makes jiu-jitsu appealing to a very broad range of people, is that you can train it at a mellower pace, right? And that's also why if you go to jiu-jitsu tournaments, wrestlers do really well in jiu-jitsu tournaments, because they understand the intensity of rounds, of limited time, of smashing someone, of going all out. Jiu-jitsu guy that's been training in the gym, they ain't ready for that first tournament. There's no jiu-jitsu guy in the gym that goes to their first tournament and says, yeah, that was just like what I thought it was going to be like. No, they're not used to that intensity. They're not ready for it. So, and of course, not taking away from jiu-jitsu guys that train like madmen with total intensity and get after it super hard too, because those guys exist as well. And also, last little thing on this, there are also some wrestlers that don't adapt to the slower pace of jiu-jitsu. They can't adapt to that, and they don't adapt to the slower pace of MMA, and so their whole career, they gas out. And there's plenty of pro MMA fighters, UFC, that have come in, high-level wrestlers, that they couldn't ever quite make the transition to MMA. So, bottom line, these are points that I pretty much agree with that this guy made, and wrestling's awesome. I think it's a great base. I think it's a form of grappling, and it complements jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu complements it. And I wish that it was one sport, but it's not. So you have to do both.
Yeah, and it seems like because he was originally not complaining, wasn't complaining, but his premise was that jiu-jitsu is not in fact the hardest one to master. Wrestling, he's implying that wrestling is harder to master. Because he taught jiu-jitsu guys wrestling and they didn't pick it up.
Right.
That was kind of it. In jiu-jitsu, you can break all kinds of wrestling rules in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But wrestling guys, when they'll come in, if they have to learn to break some wrestling rules, otherwise it's going to be their detriment. Sure, a lot of them carry over.
Right.
A lot of the strength and explosive sit-outs and stuff.
I see what you're saying.
But man, if a wrestler can't break the rule to go to his back, because a lot of wrestlers will give up their back all day because they don't want to go on their back, and that's why they're going to get choked all the time. But if, like Taylor, that's a good example, bro. He'll flop to. He broke that rule quick, and that's why he's so good, because he can expand his mind and break that rule. So, but consider the jiu-jitsu guy, right? Now he has to learn all these, so he has to essentially, and not so much break the rule, he has to probably break some rules, by not going his back, whatever. But a jiu-jitsu guy doesn't have to break any jiu-jitsu rules necessarily. So it's like, wait, why am I going to do this?
Case in point, how much time and effort am I going to put into learning a takedown correctly when it barely decides the match?
Exactly right. When you don't have to.
There's a mental gap in the desire for knowledge, because if you take me down, cool, I'm going to guillotine you. You're not going to pass my guard. Whereas when a wrestler shows up, he has to learn this stuff. Otherwise, he's losing. He's getting tapped out. He's getting choked.
Yep.
So that's a great point there.
Yeah.
Very true.
So, yeah.
You don't have to, and even when you say, okay, jiu-jitsu should focus more on takedowns, and it's really cool, and you should definitely focus on takedowns. You got to learn them, and it's very important. But at the back of your mind, as a jiu-jitsu guy,
I might just pull guard.
Yeah, I don't really care if you take me down. It's okay.
And then now we're talking about, in this case, we're talking about...
I'm not saying that me personally, because I don't like
Right, I'm just saying potentially. And here's the thing, to even add to that even. If you're considering the comparison of wrestling and jiu-jitsu, take the takedown situation. Not all takedowns are quote-unquote wrestling takedowns. I can be like, okay, I can not learn wrestling at all and still be good at takedowns if I learn judo, or if I learn something else. So it's basically you're taking something really vast with a lot of easy ways to maneuver around certain techniques and still be vastly successful. And then you're basically saying, okay, let's take a person who has that approach, and narrow it down to this much more difficult approach and way less effective approach. Essentially, it's the vastness of grappling. I can still be successful in grappling without learning XYZ wrestling moves. And then you want to teach them these XYZ wrestling moves, probably some that can go against you, especially when it comes to energy conservation and all this other stuff. Yeah. That's why a guy maybe... Yeah, it might be difficult to learn that, but how you said there's a gap in the motivation to learn. So it's difficult to want to learn or care about learning this thing when it's going to serve me less in my grappling.
No doubt. You can just look at the human facts of jiu-jitsu. There's a reason why takedowns are not emphasized very much in jiu-jitsu at a normal academy.
Right.
A normal academy, they do not have the focus on takedowns like wrestling. Wrestling, the takedown wins you. It doesn't win you the match automatically, but that's a huge part of wrestling is getting the takedowns. Jiu-jitsu, it's a little tiny percentage of the match. Does it give you 2 points? Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything to me because I'm going to submit you.
Yeah, so. and just the nature of the game. Wrestling is takedown, pin. There's more to it. I understand, but jiu-jitsu is just submit the guy. So jiu-jitsu in a way, it's like just get it to the ground. You can win off your back. You can win from the top. You can win. Wrestling's not like that.
Yeah, I mean, people literally pull guard
and then win from their back. Spend
the time.
0 seconds on top, and win the match.
And so the fact that you can pull guard gives you this entire out to get away from doing takedowns, and you can still be victorious very, very often.
Yeah, and that goes along with these techniques that he mentioned, like hip. Basically, there's a lot of moves in there. They're big moves, and they do help you. But like I said, they're simply not necessary. I mean, any physical move is helpful to know and how to defend, whether it be from offensive, or defense position. But again, if you're trying to narrow it down and teach these guys who their approach and their knowledge comes from the vastness of grappling, and you want to narrow it down to this thing, it may or may not work, and it may or may not serve you. It could work against you, but here, let's try to learn this real hard. Yeah, you're going to have that gap in motivation.
Yeah, those guys actually don't care about the takedowns.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go on record now as saying this. Just because jiu-jitsu doesn't focus on takedowns doesn't mean that you shouldn't focus. You should learn takedowns. You need to know takedowns from a self-defense perspective, from an MMA perspective. Takedowns, wrestling, you have to do it. I mean, that's why my kids wrestle, It's because I didn't wrestle, and I hate that fact because I go against like he's saying, I go against a good high school wrestler. It's hard for me to take him to the ground, You get somebody that wrestled in college, I know I'm not going to. Now, I have developed good takedown defense over the years, and it's actually takedown offense because I have offensive ways of defending the takedown. I'm going to throw submissions and stuff, but I can't go back in time and go through the training that you get when you're a high school wrestler and a college wrestler. I can't do that. I can't do it. I mean, I just don't have the time and the motivation to do it because I'm in the same boat as what the guy that you're just talking about. How much time am I going to focus on takedowns? I know I go against a college wrestler, he's taking me down. I go against a good high school wrestler, there's a good chance he's taking me down.
Yeah.
So how much time and effort? I mean, I could spend the next 5 years, I could go through a competitive circuit, I could join the wrestling club, but am I going to do that right now? Is that time effective, or do I just want to get better at jiu-jitsu? And then have access to the rest of the grappling spectrum that you just talked about? Well, it's an obvious choice. I'm going to focus on the spectrum that has the most application in every situation I'm going to be in.
Yeah.
So if you get the chance, wrestle as much as you can.
Yeah.
Learn your takedowns, drill your takedowns, put your kids into wrestling. Jiu-jitsu for sure. Put your kids into wrestling.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about it then.
Yeah. Fact remains, some people, they don't want that beef, where you got to go and wrestle. That's hard, and even like a wrestling, you can have a wrestling style to your jiu-jitsu, but again, if you don't want that.
You know who didn't wrestle? Craig Baker.
Yeah.
Didn't wrestle.
Yeah.
If you like train with him, you'll be like, where did you wrestle in college is what you'll be thinking. He's pure jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Didn't wrestle in college.
Yep.
Didn't wrestle in high school.
Yeah.
Didn't even wrestle in high school. He feels like a total wrestler when you train with him.
Absolutely.
And his takedowns are great.
Yeah.
And there's some Brazilian guys that have come up, that Brazilian UFC fighters that are very good wrestlers that never wrestled before. They have really good takedowns.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to work for that. And these kids that come out of high school, that wrestled in high school, they got it.
Yeah.
It's a little gift.
That work has been put in.
Yes. Yeah. Little gift that they got.
Yeah. But for these guys, and back to the question, for these guys that he's trying to teach, and he totally says, like, it could be my sample size. I understand. And that's a good point, actually. But because the sample size be big, you can get guys like Craig, they'll pick that stuff up real quick. But at the end of the day, when it comes to, as he put it, when it comes time to shoot, penetrate with their hips, or effectively use their hips to defend or scramble, you can omit all of those things from a jiu-jitsu guy and he can still win and be vastly successful. You know, so
scramble. You gotta scramble's a questionable one. You have to be able to scramble.
But again, I mean,
scrambling is a very good, valuable thing to have in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, agreed.
Much more valuable than being able to penetrate on a shot.
Yeah, agree. But yeah, wrestlers, right? That's such an interesting one, bro. I roll with this. I feel bad that I forget his name, but I roll with him every time I see him. And he's smaller than me. I give him maybe 165, but an awesome wrestler. Mm-hmm. New guy too, under 1 year. And his game is wrestling, but he's like high level wrestler, you know. So if I play the wrestling game, and I know wrestling, like I'm solid, I can wrestle against good wrestlers. Maybe not Taylor, but good wrestlers. So I can play, and I'm bigger than him, you know. Mm-hmm. So if I go and wrestle this guy, bro, he
runs game on you.
Yeah, he'll run his game.
Of course.
But if I just slow down in my mind, be like, okay, he's a wrestler, then let's work around the wrestling. Oh, no problem. Yeah. You know? But if he can give up the wrestling rules, you know how you because he has that athleticism, he can switch his hips like all quick. Base just like he's built into the ground. That's how good his base is, you know. Anyway, but yeah, wrestling.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess from a human nature perspective here, if you were to apply this to other situations in life, think about when you're trying to get people to do things, think about the motivation that they have in their head. Not motivation of like, hey, let's go, but the actual mental motivation of what they're going to gain from what you're trying to give them, and do they see the reason of why it's important?
Yeah, very good.
Got to apply that across the board.
Jiu-jitsu is life.
Wrestling is life.
Wrestling is life.
Grappling
is life. Next question. Hello. Do you happen to have a podcast discussing loyalty to marriage that involves marriage to a service member? I see many marriages, military spouse, where the service member has a great background in the military, but lacks marriage at home.
I actually have answered this question before, and maybe not this specific, but I'm going to go over it quickly just because this isn't just about military, relationships. It's about any relationship. But, from a military perspective, absolutely, military relationships are very hard. You've got time away. You've got classified work. There's a lack of understanding of what's going on at work. And you've got lives at stake, right? And with that, the job has to come first. And that's a very hard thing for people to understand, that the job has to come first. Why does it have to come first? For survival. Because the harder you train, the better you know your teammates, the better shot you are, the better your chance for actual survival in a combat situation. So a spouse has got to understand that, right? That in order for the service member to take care of the family, the service member has to do his utmost to prepare himself and his team for war. The number one priority. Now, what the spouse has to understand is that this doesn't mean that he wants to spend time away from his family. He doesn't want to prioritize his team over his family. He doesn't want to miss the recital, doesn't want to miss the ball game, doesn't want to miss the teacher's conference, but he has to. He has to. So, spouse, don't be mad when he makes that priority. Accept and understand that the family is the number one priority. It is the number one priority, but in order to be there for the family, he's got to prepare for war so that he can come home to his family after deployment. Now, this obviously also applies to police. This applies to firefighters. And I'll tell you what, it applies really to the breadwinner, man or wife, husband or wife in any walk of life, right? If you're the breadwinner for the family, that's what you're doing. The way that you're taking care of the family is by bringing home money so that there is food and housing and clothing and a secure future. That's what you're doing. And so the spouse in these situations has to understand that the hard work and the hours and the days and the weeks that are taken away from the family is actually done to provide for the family, right? So that's the key piece that people have to understand, that the spouse has to understand. Now, the service member, and again, I've talked about this before, the service member or the firefighter or the police officer or the breadwinner, what they have to do is they have to make sure that they don't go overboard, that they draw the line somewhere, that they don't destroy what it is that you're trying to protect. Don't destroy what it is you're trying to take care of. Don't give the plant so much water that you drown it. Don't cook the steak so long that you burn it. Don't work so hard for your family that you don't have a family anymore. You got to have the balance. And one of the things that you got to do is you got to explain that to the family. And you got to tell them what's up, and you got to tell them that they are the most important thing, and that all this work that you're doing that's taking you away from them is actually being done for them. And you got to communicate that to them. You got to understand. It's hard for them to understand. It's hard for a 8-year-old kid to understand why you're missing the baseball game, or why the 6-year-old girl why you're missing the Jiu Jitsu tournament or whatever. It's hard to explain that. But you've got to at least try. You've got to make it evident to them. And you also have to make sure you don't abuse it. Right? Because work can be fun. And hanging out with our teammates for an extra day of shooting or an extra day of jumping or having a beer at the pub on the way home, that can also sometimes be more appealing than the recital, than the ball game. So don't abuse it. You have to take care of your family, and you have to talk to each other and understand this balance together. Understand the sacrifices that are being made on both sides so that you can work it out and maintain the strength of that entity, the family that you're trying to take care of.
Agree.
Yeah. And I mean, I walk the line on this one. I work hard, and I worked hard for my whole life.
Yeah, and it's going to depend too, right? I mean, like how you say, don't work so hard that you don't have a family. It depends how rigid or resilient like the family is, and that has to do with like, you know, you explaining, and it's kind of like lifting and overtraining. You know, I'm lifting so I can get these results when I rest or all this stuff, right? But if I'm just lifting, no rest, but it's going to depend on how strong I am to begin with, kind of thing. So I mean, yeah, man, it makes sense. You know.
It's helpful.
I think if you explain it though, like how you say with everything, just keep explaining. Bro, my daughter last night asked me why. She wasn't sad or nothing like that, but she's like, "Why do you work so much?" Thing is, I mean, let's face it, I don't work so much, but as far as she's concerned, if I'm not playing with her at that moment, you work too much. I can work 1 minute. I work too much, but I was like, oh dang, I had to think of it from her perspective. You know, and I explained it all, and she had fun me explaining it, you know? Yeah. And now she understands.
I had, I was like sitting having a dinner with my family, you know, and we don't eat together every single night because we're all busy doing a bunch of different things. So we were having dinner, and for some reason I had something going on. It's business where I pulled out my phone, and I was texting someone, going back and forth. And, you know, one of my kids was, you know, why are you on your phone right now? And then, you know, my wife chimed in, can't you just put that down? And I said, hey, just so everybody knows.
Did you get defensive?
I did get a little bit defensive. Honestly. I said, just so everybody knows, if I could, I would take this phone and throw it in the ocean and never look at it again. But I have work to do. And sometimes my work involves working at night. And most of the time, if I'm working at night, it's on this little gadget right here that I have to look at. So that's why I'm doing this. Not because I don't want to listen to you, not because I don't want to sit here and just focus on the family right now. But guess what? I got work to do. And the work that I'm doing is not for me. It's for this family. So we can have a house. So we can have food on the table. So back off. But they got the point. You know what I mean? I didn't really yell the back off point. But they understand. They realize, and for my young daughter that was, 5 years old at the time, I said, this is how we get food and this is how you get toys. I have to work to buy you toys. Yeah. Do you not want any more toys? She was like, no, go ahead and answer the phone. Yeah. Dad.
Yeah. Did you have work to do? Yeah. That's why you have toys. That was part of my speech too.
There you go.
I wasn't all nuts though.
You didn't get nuts like I did.
It wasn't very confrontational. She was like smiling.
She doesn't get confrontational.
Keep in mind when I'm working, she has the option to jump on my lap.
Right.
Keep that in mind. Right. So this isn't a troublesome situation for me, and I understand that. But the point still is there though. You explain it like you explained it, or like how I explained it, and if they know and they understand, then it's like it's clear, But that's not to say that they don't have a point, though, because sometimes, especially if you don't explain or you're not engaged at all, these people who they're on the phone.
You need to check yourself. That's why you need to check yourself and make sure that you're not going overboard, that you're not abusing it. Because you know what? Does that client really need to hear from me at this moment?
Yes.
The answer is, and this is, I figured out years later, it's like, no, actually, they don't need to hear from me right now.
Yeah. Not all the time. Sometimes.
Sometimes, but they can hear from me a little bit later.
Yeah.
After dinner.
Yeah. When I text you right back, you have to respond right back.
Yeah. No, you have to respond right back.
Sometimes I'm busy cruising.
We got time for one more, you think?
No, we don't, but we're going to do that anyway. Jocko, do you have a specific place or time you spend thinking specifically about your fallen comrades?
Yeah. Anytime that things are going good in my life, any moment of happiness, anytime I'm enjoying my life or I'm thinking about what the future holds, that's when I think about my friends that died. So, surfing after a good wave and waiting for the next one, after some good Jiu Jitsu training, after a good workout, or a good meal, or maybe a smile or a laugh with a friend, or having an ice cream cone with my daughter, or playing guitar with my son, or catching a little smile from my wife. At those moments, without a doubt, that's when I think of Mark, and that's when I think of Mikey, and that's when I think of Ryan, and that's when I think of all those brave souls. Those brave souls that have fallen. And I always will. I always will. But it's not a bad thing. And I don't want you to think that it ruins the moment, because it doesn't. It doesn't at all. It doesn't fill me with sadness or with sorrow or with pain. And it doesn't make me angry or frustrated or depressed or dark. And it doesn't make me focus on death. No. It doesn't do that at all. It makes me want to live. Makes me want to live more and do more. It makes me want to be more. To know at those moments, those precious moments, this life. This life is a gift from those men. They gave this to me. They gave me that moment. And because they gave it to me, they don't have it anymore. They gave us everything they had. Everything they had, they gave to us. So I'm grateful. Grateful to them. And when I think of them, I'm not sad. When I think of them, I'm happy. I'm happy I knew them. I'm happy I served with such heroes. And I'm happy that they gave me the chance to be happy today. And I won't let the dark specter of death drag me down. I'll remember them. And for them, I will live. And I think that's all I've got for tonight. So, Echo,
yes.
Why don't you take a quick minute or 47 minutes and explain how someone can support this podcast if they want to.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go right into it. If you're into supplements, or actually even if you're not into supplements, Onnit supplements. It's actually not just supplements though. It's like all kinds of stuff to improve your whole life, game, physical. So yeah, supplements, whatever. So mental, physical, emotional, even new mood. It's called new mood.
I haven't tried that.
Yeah, I
don't want a new mood. I like my current mood. Yeah. Somebody told me I should smoke pot.
Sure.
Like, hey, you should just try it. You know, you're out of the military now. You should just, you should try some pot. And I was like, interesting, but like, why do you think, I should do that? And they said, well, you won't be so angry all the time then. And I said, I like being angry. I don't think I'll try your potion.
Yeah, which is also kind of strange, even that, I know you don't actually like being angry. you're also not angry all the time.
That's true.
I don't think I've seen you angry, but maybe 3 times.
Really?
Ever.
What did I get angry at?
You were angry at Dean for something.
Okay, well, yeah.
And then...
something else.
Actually, so one time. That was it. That was the only time. Like, actually, it was at Dean twice.
Yeah, Dean can be frustrating.
Hey, man. And if you're angry all the time, there's this thing called New Mood. By
Have
Onnit.
you taken it?
I took it once, but I didn't feel like I was in a new mood. But from the other people that take it, because like, okay, so supplements, like anything else, it's like you're probably gonna take the ones that you feel like you need or you want help with. Like if you're like, okay, I gotta recover better from because I work out so much, you're gonna take some kind of recovery thing. My joints are, whatever, you're gonna take krill oil or something for your joints, whatever. So New Mood is one of those ones where I was like, okay, I'm sleeping fine. I don't have necessarily like hangover situations or depression or anything where I need some enhancement. Not to say that I couldn't benefit. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I'm not gravitating towards.
Dude, why'd you order it?
I hear good things, man.
Okay.
I hear good things.
Because I'm thinking probably in the back of your mind, you're like, I'm cruising right now, but I could probably cruise harder if I had New Mood.
Actually, no. I bought it for my wife because she, how like, she's the kind where she like, if there's a task, like, let's do the task, real task.
Oh yeah, someone that likes to get stuff done.
Yeah,
I do know that type of person, Echo.
So you can see
too
why
much you didn't like making videos. We could be in a whole new scenario right now.
Anyway, I bought it for her, so
anyway. So she wouldn't be so productive. I like where you're coming from.
Because she said that
she stresses from it.
Yeah, especially with a new baby. I mean, kind of new, 6-7 months, whatever. But like when it's time to go sleep, the kind where and. I don't know if you're like this, but the kind where if I'm like, hey, I'm going to go take a nap from 3 to 4, when I go in at 2:59 to go take a nap, in the event of me doing that, I go in at 2:59. At 3:01, I'm probably either sleeping or close to sleep. Not everyone's like that, where they'll be like, all this stuff was on my mind.
Because I go in to take a nap and I'm like, BTF, 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 can't sleep. All right, get up and do more stuff.
Yes, exactly. So this New Mood.
I took a nap the other day, though. I took a serious nap. Yeah. I was just tired.
Slacker.
Yeah. Tired on the couch. That's kind of
couch potato.
Couch naps are sort of, I don't like the couch naps.
Too bad. I think they're pretty dope.
Because I think you got to go, all right, I'm going to nap, boom, going to feet up, elevate, set the alarm clock. Couch nap is just like, what happened?
Right. Yeah. What's weird? In a way, and I'm apparently, I guess I'm just speaking from experience. I don't have any like technical reason, but
what else is new?
It seems like the couch nap, you're in this mental state that is kind of like you have low expectations of comfort, so your body's like, you know what, you might not be the most comfortable, but hey, you're not moving, so boom, you just fall asleep. But when you can go like in your room and you lay down and you're like, wait, the temperature is just a little bit not cool. And then you're like, okay, let me adjust the temperature. Oh, wait. I hear something outside. Let me close the door. So it's almost like you can't sleep because the conditions aren't perfect when you have that expectation of perfect conditions. But on the couch, you don't have that expectation. You're just like, it's like if you're napping outside on the grass.
I don't have a blanket. I'll just pull this pillow over my left arm and I'll be good to go.
Exactly right. So no expectation. Okay. That just has to do with naps. But the New Mood one, that's for like if you have like stress. You know?
Well, don't talk about it. If we don't know, then talk about another thing.
Yeah, wait. I think
that we do know.
I think the conversation went in that direction of its own like momentum. I think.
Okay. Well, next thing you know, we're
talking about naps. Yeah, I know, bro. I know. That's that.
So
life.
Onnit.
Yeah. Okay. Onnit is the best supplements. That's it. Let's get that out of the way. Like straight up factually. Bro, they have like Warrior Bar the other day, so I got some Warrior Bars. I already had them. Whatever. Did a workout, and I like to eat after work. I got to get a certain amount of protein in there, and not necessarily, I'm going for counting my macros, nothing like that. But if you only have like one small half piece of chicken left over from you kind of need more, in my opinion. I needed more. So I was like, but I made cool, like it was like this brown rice. It was good, but I only had like this half piece of chicken. So I was like, shoot, I need more meat in there. Look in the fridge, like nothing. So I got a Warrior Bar, 2 Warrior Bars, and chopped them up and like put it in there and like heat it up in the microwave. It was actually good. So it was like a buffalo meat, chicken, rice concoction. It was good though. Even you're used to Warrior bars, kind of like beef jerky or like a.
Was it like soft and moist?
It wasn't soft. It was still the Warrior bar. It was just a warm Warrior bar,
but it was
mixed
good.
It worked. It worked. The flavor profile worked.
I like it
Majestically.
I'll have to give that one a run.
Anyway, Warrior bars. If you don't know what that is, look on onnit.com, and it's buffalo meat and it's dope. Gluten free, by the way. Anyway, so the main ones is what? Krill oil for your joints. You'd be surprised how much joint degeneration we all have. That's what I think.
Okay.
Get the krill oil. Also,
you're trying to entice me into longer conversations. I'm not taking the bait. I don't want to know about your joint degeneration.
Yes, you do.
You keep that in your mind.
No, bro. Of course, you're the one who turned me on to it. So you
not
care.
Joint degeneration.
Joint.
I gave you krill oil.
Krill oil for joint maintenance.
This is
okay. This is where krill oil. Okay, so Greg Train McIntyre asked me, not yesterday, last time I saw him, Sunday. I hear fish oil. Like what? No, it was Juan who asked it. Greg was just there.
One each.
Yeah. He said, Phil, what's the difference between fish oil and krill oil? Because I take fish oil or whatever. What's the difference? Okay, here's the difference. My wife's dad would say that the krill oil is better. This is why. Because krill oil, the omega-3s, is the omega-3s. That's what you're going for. So they both, fish oil and krill oil, have omega-3s. So fish oil attaches to your triglycerides. Krill oil, omega-3s, attached to your phospholipids. So what does that mean? Who cares, right? Who cares about, I just want it, in my joints. So let's say your joints are a nightclub, okay? Follow me. This is a perfect analogy.
Okay.
Your joints
are
a
long analogy?
I'm going to make it short. Joints are a nightclub. That's your joints, right?
Okay.
And you want the omega-3s to get in there.
Right.
Right? So omega-3s are your crew.
Okay.
Jocko is triglycerides. Echo is phospholipids.
Okay.
Hey, Jocko's cool. His crew, the omega-3s, we both have omega-3s with us. They're attached to me. Me and you are on the guest list. Hey, who am I going to let in? Jocko and his rowdy crew of omega-3s? Navy SEALs. They do burpees at random times. Or Echo, because they're just cruising. They both spend money. All the omega-3s spend money. They got to be in the nightclub. But which omega-3s is the bouncer going to let in? Your omega-3s? The omega-3s attached to you, the triglyceride? Or to the phospholipids? Who's me? Who? Probably me.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, boom. That's why the krill oil gets let in better.
Can't say boom after a 14-minute story.
That's not 14 minutes. That's like 2 minutes. But you see what I'm saying? That's basically how your body is.
I think
so it's like,
understands.
hey, it's better absorption.
Okay.
Krill oil in that, krill oil format.
Okay.
For lack of a better term, it just gets better absorption. There's other stuff too, some antioxidant
we
stuff
accept your
that
explanation universally here.
Anyway, get the krill oil. Take care of your joints. You'd be surprised the role they play in everything. That's my opinion. If you're not on that, get on that. Also, good way to support Amazon. Click through. What you do is you go before you do your Amazon shopping. If you don't know already, before you do your Amazon shopping, go through the website, JockoPodcast.com or JockoStore, whichever. Click on the Amazon link. Also, it's also called support. Click on support or the Amazon link, whatever. Then you click through the website. Then you go do your Amazon shopping. Outstanding way to support. Really good support. Then you do your shopping as you normally would, and boom, instant support. And it doesn't cost you anything. It costs you 2 seconds of your time for big support. So it's like small action, big reaction. Like sodium in water. God. Yeah, exactly. So you understand now if you know what happens to sodium metal when you put it in water, that's going to be you. That's the Amazon click. I'm just saying. I think it's important to remember that because
apparently you do think it's important.
That's dope. That's dope. That's
you
dope.
Remind us every time.
Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all the podcast platforms, and write a review if you're in the mood. That's a good one. Write a review. Support the rankings. If our podcast is in good rankings, that's cool, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I think so. Or subscribe to YouTube. If you're into YouTube, you watch videos, you can see this podcast obviously in video format or all the excerpts that we put on there.
You say that like there's this massive
there
number
is,
of excerpts.
bro. There is, and there's more coming. And these are good because you can share them with your friend. So I have some technical knowledge of you. So I know how to share the link, and then in the link that I share, I can manipulate the little URL or whatever. So when they click on the link, it'll start at a certain moment in the video, right? It's not hard to do. There's a little setting. But anyway, I can do that. So if I'm like, hey, let me share Jocko's take on this with my friend Joe or whatever, and because I think he could benefit, or this is what he was asking me about. Hey, here it is. I can send him the whole podcast. I just manipulate the thing to the little bookmark place where it can start. But if you don't want to do all that, you can just find the excerpt that I put on the YouTube channel. They're just more shareable, so they don't have to listen to the whole podcast to get the specific lesson.
That's really cool. You'd think that there would be a lot of those from your excitement about them.
Yeah, it depends on what you mean by a lot, but I think, there's some significant,
Okay.
We're putting more on there.
We'll be the judge of that over here on this end.
Also, Jocko has a store. If you don't know, it's called JockoStore.com. If you if you like these shirts that we make, and we put effort into the shirts, they're not like the cheap make a stencil, spray paint, cheap Hanes, not that Hanes is cheap, but cheap shirt here. The kind you give away for, it's not that kind. They're good, like quality. See what I'm saying? I say the spray paint thing because I've made shirts like that before when I was a kid. Yeah, so they're not that kind. They're good. They got some, some cool design. Hey, if you like them, so check out those. Go there, JockoStore.com. If you want to support in that way, get a shirt and represent in the wild. Boom, women's stuff, whatever, shirts, patches, rash guards, 19% performance increase, proven, 147% proven, 19% improvement. Hoodies as well. It's getting warmer, I understand, but still it's cold some places. Michigan, still cold.
The hoodies are probably good for this time of year right now because they aren't the heaviest of weight. Next winter, we're going to go Jocko style on the hoodies. They're going to be heavyweight. This year, we went Echo style. Yeah. Lightweight.
Kawhi's
not super
version
light.
of
they're still hoodies, but they're not as heavy duty.
They're like medium heavy.
They're medium.
I think technically they are medium heavy technically.
Next year we're going heavy.
Going heavy, yeah. Or we could go light for the spring summer as well.
Oh, well, let's not just do like a whole fashion thing. We're only going to make one kind from now on. Heavy.
Anyway, go there, JockoStore.com.
Look at
what you want.
The spring line of Jocko clothing. Stop.
The spring collection. Yeah. But yeah, see, if something looks good to you, support that way. Represent. Also, psychological warfare. Now, look, support the podcast. I dig it, and thank you, everyone who has supported. But psychological warfare, that one is a support yourself situation. Really. If you're weak, this is what it is, psychological warfare. If you don't know already, I know I explain it every time, but I'm going to explain it again. If you're feeling moments of weakness in regards to your workout or waking up early or slipping on the whole diet program, and I don't mean diet like I'm just saying eating correctly and not incorrectly. If you're about to slip on that, you get enticed, like my sister explained she did with her son, brings home some brownies. She couldn't help but eat the brownies. Now she's paying for it on the treadmill, according to her words, not mine. At the moment of the introduction of the brownies or donuts, as the case may be, you put on one of these tracks. It's called Sugar Coated Lies. Snack time. Sugar Coated Lies. Listen to Jocko. He'll explain to you some stuff that will cause you to not slip on that plan. And this goes for, like I said, waking up, doing the workout, pushing yourself during the workout, all this stuff, getting your work done, all this stuff. So if you need a spot in those areas, look into that. It's called Psychological Warfare. Jocko will link. It's on iTunes. Good way to support yourself. And by happenstance, it supports the podcast as well. Double whammy. Double gravitational thing.
Also, while you're clicking through Amazon, you can order Jocko white tea. You can get it on Amazon.com. Do the click through. Try it. Be careful. Be careful when you use it. But give it a try. See what happens. And I got a couple more just reviews from Amazon.com. Since taking it with me to the gym over ice, I not only get to enjoy the semi-sweet flavor of the tea, but I have also noticed increases in strength. On squats, I've noticed a 15 to 20% increase in strength while using it. And my deadlift has gone from 475 to 805.
Extra legit.
And by the way, it says semi-sweet. There's no sweetener in the tea. It just is what it is. There's no sugar in there. No. That would be just hypocritical, and I would have to close down my life.
Yeah, that'd be whack for sure.
Another one, no big deal. I'm not a tea drinker, but needed a sound substitute to kick the diet soda. Jocko white tea is what the reviews say. I drink it iced, and I love the taste. Since drinking Jocko white tea, my total and free tea levels have increased. I don't have the labs to back up my claim, but my voice is deeper, my muscles are leaner, energy increased, and my wife's favorite result is increased stamina. I feel 21 again. Enjoy the tea and support the podcast.
Dang.
Again, science. These are from Amazon, right? These are peer-reviewed reviews.
Reputable.
So these are reputable.
So.
And Jocko white tea, you can get it. And you could write a funny review like everybody else is doing. Little book coming out called Way of the Warrior Kid. By the way, it's coming out soon. It's coming out May 2nd. Mm-hmm. It's going to sell out. And once people read the initial ones that sell out, the people that got it, they're going to order more. It's going to be back ordered, and you're not going to be able to get one. So order it now. Real easy. Also, Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. That's coming in October. Same thing. Order it so you can get a copy when it comes out. The manual will show you how to get after it. That's it. It's the field manual. You want to know how to get after it? Here, get the field manual. Discipline Equals Freedom. You've heard that. You probably think that. You actually probably know that. How do you execute it? You get the field manual. Follow the instructions. Workouts, thoughts, food intake, sleep habits. Everything's in there. No factor. Extreme ownership also. It's just word of mouth keeping it in the top 1 to 200 on Amazon. That's insane. Thank you all for spreading the word and getting your people in the game. Get them a copy. You know what? Write a little note in the copy that you get for your team. Give them a little advice. What chapter you think is suited for them. Get them on board. Up and down the chain of command, by the way. You don't want your whole team to be outperforming your leadership, which is what will happen if you just get the book for them and you. Echelon Front. Leadership and management consulting. Keynote speeches. Yep. We do those. Long-range leadership alignment programs. Yes, that is what we do. So, me, Leif, JP, Dave Burke. Combat leadership applied to business and life. You can check the website, echelonfront.com, or email info@echelonfront.com. Also, the muster. And again, this is not a seminar about getting pumped up.
No.
It isn't a seminar about finding yourself.
No.
It's not going to help you channel your internal chi towards eternal bliss. It's not going to do that. That's not what the muster is about. The muster is about leadership. Pragmatic leadership skills for you to use in your business and in your life. You work with people. You lead people. or you aspire to lead people. Who's going to teach you how to do that? Where are you going to learn that from? Actual question, where do you learn that from? Who's going to teach it to you? That's the question. The answer is the muster. Learn to lead your people. Learn to lead yourself. May 4th and 5th, New York City. Marriott Grand Marquis. Are we playing around? No, we are not. The first muster was awesome.
Agree.
Why are we having a second muster? Because the first muster was awesome. That's why we're having a second muster. So come to it. And until we see you at the muster, because by the way, I'm going to be there. Leif's going to be there. JP's going to be there. Dave Burke's going to be there. If that's not enough for you, and you need something to kind of close the deal, don't worry, because Echo Charles is going to be there, probably giving a 4-hour speech to the public.
Yeah.
Until the muster, you can also find us more on the interwebs, cruising. And in Echo's case, cruising hard. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Echo is at Echo Charles, and I am at Jocko Willink. And lastly, thanks for listening and giving us feedback and inspiring us to do this. Inspiring us to do better and to be better. Knowing that we aren't alone on this mission. Knowing that you all are with us in the game, standing watch, not backing down, not settling for average, not just going through the motions, but living. Living life hard and fast and aggressively. And taking every opportunity to step up, step forward, step on fear and step on failure and step toward a better you. And step out into the unknown to get after it. So until next time, this is Echo and Jocko. Out.